All right. And we are back with Christy Campbell. What episode did you do? Do you remember?
I don't remember. It was an early one.
An early one. You're an Endless Endeavor OG. But she's been hitting jujitsu hard for the last, what do you say, 14 months?
Yep. 14 months, I think.
You've been doing it longer than that, though, right?
A little bit longer because I started with my kids. So I just kind of put my toe in the water when they started. But I think I've been training. That's what I said to you on Friday. I think I'd give myself a for real training for 14 months.
And then dabbling for how much longer?
Dabbling probably for 3 months before that.
Okay. So for people that didn't listen to whatever episode that was, I'll put it in the show notes and link it so people can listen. But just give a little background, who you are, what you're about. And then I think this is going to be a jiu-jitsu heavy podcast.
I like it. Well, my name's Christy. Christy Campbell, and I don't know. It's like a very broad question, what I am and what I'm about.
You have 3 minutes to describe
I like it.
Everything about yourself. Go.
I like it. Well, I'm a mom of 3, 10, 12, and almost 2. Starting
over.
Yep. Crazy. We got to chasing the toddler all over again. She was a surprise. So that's just how it works. But it was a great surprise, but definitely a surprise. We'd gotten rid of all of our baby stuff. We thought that season was done. So mom of 3, I'm a Navy veteran. I'm a Navy spouse, so my husband's still active duty. And so we've lived all over the country, but this is my favorite place. So this is home now. We lived here a while back and then we moved back to Washington State. And now this is our forever home. Even if my husband has to transfer a little bit more, we're staying put.
And I think that's fair for the kids too.
Me too. Especially the older ones. They're, 6th grade and 4th grade right now. And we've moved cross country like 3 times. So it's time to stay put. And
how much longer does your husband have? As an officer, you never know, right?
Right. At least 3 more years.
Okay.
At least 3. At least one more deployment. Yeah.
At least 3 up to 15.
I think that because he knows where I'm at, which is I'm 100% supportive, but at this point I'm like ready for him to retire.
Yeah.
So, he'll do 3 more at least, and then we'll probably have that conversation about it's time to come home.
Well, and us both being veterans, we understand deployment cycles. We understand how demanding the military can be. But I'm not kidding you. I think your husband deploys more than anybody I've ever met in my life.
Yeah, he was just gone for quite a bit, and we just found out that he's going to leave again, as early as December from now. And he's not even been home a year. He just got back in June. So, that's a juggle. And so that's like, I guess, a significant portion of like, if I'm introducing myself, who I am and what I'm about. But I'm also, I founded a company called FitMe, and we do diet-free, sustainable weight loss. That's like our thing. So, I was a nutrition coach, a trainer, a CrossFit coach, all of that. But then I found myself very passionate about helping real people learn how to eat, learn how to take care of themselves, find the weight loss they've been looking for, and kind of be done with the diet gimmicks. So I founded a company that helps women do that.
So is your demographic is exclusively women then?
Exclusively women. Yep.
Sexist.
I know it is. I just found that that's who we helped best. And so, I had my season where I coached everybody. I coached high level athletes. I coached, men in CrossFit. I coached weightlifters. I coached all those people for nutrition and as a trainer. But it was just something that it was almost like my roots. The reason I went back to it wasn't like I didn't like coaching those things. I did. It was that for me, because I had this experience in my life where I had kind of lost myself for a long time in my body, way overweight, lost all the fitness I'd grown up with, and then I got it back. That was such a powerful experience for me that it was kind of like what I wanted to return back to. So after I'd sort of done the reps and I'd coached quite a bit, I just found myself wanting to help regular people.
Yeah. And we touched on this last episode, but when I met you, you were already CrossFit coach, beast mode.
Yep.
All the things that CrossFit people can do, like walk on your hands and 100 pull-ups. And then I remember you shared on your Instagram one day, like when you were overweight. And I was like, oh shit, I had no idea that was your journey. It was crazy to see that.
It's just kind of life sort of threw it at me. I grew up not knowing how to eat. I ate like Hamburger Helper and Pop-Tarts growing up. Like
that was our generation.
That was our generation.
Like literally, I would get Pop-Tarts for breakfast before I'd go to the school or to the bus stop.
Do you remember those like toaster strudels? They were like the fancy Pop-Tarts with the flaky crust.
And my mom always gets offended when I talk about how
I know, mine does too.
Unhealthy the 80s were. You grew up just fine. You're okay, aren't you? And it's like, listen, I'm not necessarily saying like you did a terrible job, but the fact of it is we should always be growing and trying to do better, right?
Right.
And so when we're at grandma's house and she's just giving my kids they can eat donuts and candy, goldfish crackers. And if we're just going for when she lived in Seattle and it was just an evening, no big deal. But she ended up moving out of state. So when we visit grandma, it's like a week-long deal now. And she's like, I'm going to feed these kids whatever they want. I'm like, God, because you know how kids are.
Right.
Like, I feel like it's hard. And maybe it's just me projecting myself onto my children because I'm all or nothing.
Me too.
I have a hard time, like like when the waters are muddied, like navigating through that. If I'm eating clean, it's clean. And if I'm eating shit, I'm eating pizza every single night.
It's hard with kids.
Yeah. And so like trying to balance that with children, if I find them eating bullshit, it seems like they want more bullshit. But if you get that away from them, then it starts to just become normal life, right?
They forget about it.
Yeah. And then just not having it in the house too. That's a big one for me. If there's bullshit in the house, like I like to think of myself as a pretty disciplined person. But like if my kids eat pizza, like they'll order Papa John's or whatever for a movie night with their friends. And I'll go into the kitchen and it's literally like this crazy internal debate with myself.
That's because I grew up and I'm 5'4" and I'm just like a normal sized woman. I remember I could put down like 4 or 5 pieces of Papa John's, like growing up. It's like ingrained into us.
That's it.
That's what I'm saying. And I feel like that was a lot, but I mean, I'm sure that you could eat it all, but your body doesn't forget. I mean, it's still delicious.
Yeah. No, I could literally eat Papa John's pizza every day.
I know.
For the rest of my life.
Yeah.
That and sushi.
Right.
Those are my 2 go-tos. But I don't feel the jury's still out on sushi. I mean, it's a lot of rice, but I feel good afterwards. And I feel like I remember like when I was competing, if I was ever going to compete, I'd eat sushi the day before.
Sushi's great. I mean,
and I would feel awesome.
It's super healthy.
But isn't the rice have a bunch of, isn't it sticky
carbs.
Rice?
Yeah, but it's carbs. It doesn't have to be sticky rice.
Okay. That
just has extra sugar in it. You know, when they like make the packed in rice with sugar in like, I think a lot of times like in Filipino dishes.
Got it. Well, and
it's like a dessert.
Aren't all the sushi restaurants like with the belts, that sticky rice?
I don't know. I mean, to me, there's so many worse choices than sushi. I mean, even if they add a tiny bit of sugar, it's probably okay.
Yeah.
And it could be in the vinegar. But yeah.
In your FitMe thing, most of your clients don't train at a physical location. It's all online, right?
So,
or is it split up kind of?
Everything we do is online.
Okay.
And the idea is we're kind of like a hybrid. Again, I coached like over 10,000 hours in person and online before I kind of figured out what was best. And we're a hybrid of one-on-one and group coaching. So each person in FitMe gets a one-on-one coach, but there's also this group component because I feel like people do better when they're tied to other people. Mm-hmm. When you show up for somebody else, it just changes you. So you're more inclined to be consistent. And that's really our whole method because we teach people how to make little changes that add up over time. So just simple things like I used to drink soda and now I drink water, and that little change could add up over a year to be 10 or 15 pounds of weight loss. I used to go to drive through and drink a super sugary Starbucks drink, and now I don't. That's like a treat I have once in a while. Well, that's again, pounds of weight loss. And so we just teach people to make little changes, but the magic really isn't the little change because we all probably know little changes we should make. It's actually showing people how to do it in their real life and then giving them the glue to make it happen. And so that's what we do. We're really the only coaching company that specializes in this. And most of our like clients or members are people who They may have a gym that they go to, some don't. But at the end of the day, they've dieted a lot. They've done all of these different diets, and they've kind of danced around, never really changing their fundamentals. So they're always going to be vulnerable. Even if they do something that short term works, the weight just comes back, or just slowly adds over time. And so women, I mean, whether they're in their like 30s or whether in their 60s, our person that we help best has like a deep diet history for sure.
Yeah. And it seems like, I don't know, every single diet program out there is almost the same in the fact that it's like, do this for this period of time and then you're going to be good. Yeah. And that's not like, and I like the fact that like you can do something for a period of time and have results, and I'll do that to myself for the next 90 days. I'm going to do this. But I feel like, and I think we talked about this last time a little bit, that mentality is like for athletes.
100%.
You're cutting weight for a fight, or if you're dieting down to get on stage on this date or whatever. Most people's brains don't work like that though.
Yeah, there's two options that most people face. They're either doing like the gimmick diets, right? Like the ones we probably all could identify, but everybody still gets tempted to do. The cleanses, the sort of like the more like fad diet versions of keto, the kind of things that people are drawn to, the meal package services, like the protein places where you like go and they give you all your meals in a shake, like that kind of place. Those, we have that option for people. But then there's also these like nutrition protocols that were really intended for professional athletes and bodybuilders. And those are great, except that when you apply them to regular people, they don't really work because they're not sustainable. Like a regular person doesn't want to have to track their food for the rest of their life. So if that's the method that they learn, they're not learning anything. They're just manipulating their food to hit numbers. And again, totally appropriate if you are an athlete, because at the end of the day, maybe your career or your passion, everything depends on you making weight or you performing. So who cares if you want to eat gummy bears for carbs? But like a regular woman who's dealing with stresses, who's got kids, who's got life happening, who maybe, again, has a diet history because they've been playing the diet game for decades, they have to change what they're fundamentally doing. And all of those approaches don't work. And so that's what I'm all excited. That's what I get excited about.
No, I can see it. I can hear it in your voice. And right before we started recording, I was telling you my wife, Jenny, she literally just started a new program. Maybe one of those fad diets. But I mean, she did keto for a long time and lost a lot of weight and got in good shape. But she's just finding strict keto to not be super sustainable anymore. And I don't know if her body changed or if she just kind of lost the motivation for that. But when I do keto, I don't feel my best, you know? And so she's going to try carb cycling. But what you were just saying is that requires to track all your macros.
Right.
And she's always asked me, like, anytime she's doing diets where she tracks her macros, hey, do this with me. And I'm like, not a fucking chance.
It's like, a lot.
I'm not gonna type in all this shit into my phone all day. And I mean, maybe it would be good for me. You
can learn a lot about food by doing it. I mean, Jenny's in great shape. So if she wants to play around with the carb cycling approach, you know, she's in a place where, you know, she's already eating well and she can kind of play with it. But I mean,
it's funny because today is day one, and I mean, it's already 6:30 p.m. And right before I left, she's like, I have so much more food I'm supposed to eat today. This is going to be tough just to eat all of these macros, because when you're used to she's been keto for so long, and now on the carb cycling days, even on the low days, I think it's like 100 grams of carbohydrates or something.
Right. So she's probably getting way more. I mean, here's the thing about keto is if you are eating a bunch of garbage and then all of a sudden you're like, I'm going to do keto. So you eat like a standard American diet of lots of processed food. And then all of a sudden you're like, I'm going to do keto. What normally happens for people is they take out a lot of the junk, right? They take out the breads and the pastas and the pastries and the muffins and the sugar and stuff because they understand like those are carbs, so I'm not supposed to have those. But really what they're doing is they're cleaning up their diet. So they remove all of these like quote carbs, which they are carbs, but they really clean up their diet. And so what's left? They go out to a restaurant and they would have had a burger, but now they're having like just the, or they're getting the patty, right?
Yeah.
So they changed what they're eating. So they're like, okay, now I'm eating better. Well, they're going to lose weight. They're not losing weight because it's keto. They're losing weight because they removed a bunch of junk food. They are eating low carbs. And again, there's benefits to doing keto. There's definitely health benefits to doing keto. But most of the examples that we see like out in the general public are people who aren't really doing it for like the health and lifestyle, like the longevity benefits of keto, or because they have a health condition where keto can really be helpful. They're doing it because they want to lose weight.
Yeah.
So what happens is they do that. They like remove all that stuff and they lose weight. Well, then they get smart and they're like, well, I could have keto brownies and keto cupcakes and keto bread and keto pasta.
That's the same thing with paleo.
Same exact thing.
Remember when paleo was new, you're like, okay, just eat what a caveman eats. Okay, so fruit, vegetables, nuts, berries, fish, meat.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, but honey's paleo.
Right.
So now we can get almond flour and a gallon of honey and make a cake that's technically paleo, but it's still 300 grams of sugar, you know?
And it's a treat, but that's just the thing is like, instead of actually changing how people eat and what they do. So my whole method again is just changing those fundamentals. So like, what do people do on a daily basis? That's what matters, right?
Yeah.
Like at the end of the day, for anything you're doing, it's what you do consistently. So if you're eating healthy meals consistently, well, by all means, have a paleo treat, a regular treat, a like Dunkin' Donuts treat. It doesn't matter if that's an occasion. It doesn't matter what you call it. It's fine. But if you don't change those things and all you do is apply a protocol like paleo or keto, but you don't actually change the habits around it, then eventually people get smart. And so then what they do is they start eating low carb, but they just go back to eating the way they were before. And potentially the downside with keto, especially for people who are active, is they start eating more calories again because they find all those foods. They find the yummy ones that they missed. They're just keto, so they think they can have them. Yeah, the fat bombs. So they ate 700 calories of fat bombs when they could have had like a normal snack. But if they're doing sports like CrossFit, or they're doing something that's explosive and they're not getting carbs, it actually can be negative for them in the long run, especially women. Because what happens is like your body's preferred source of energy is carbs. So yes, your body 100% can use fat. So that is true. And that's like one of our survival mechanisms, but your preferred source is carbs. And now if you're doing something explosive like CrossFit or even JiuJitsu, potentially, you could get away with it for a little while. Why? Because adrenaline. Because it doesn't matter if you don't have the fuel source. When you hear the like 3, 2, 1, go, or you start rolling, that adrenaline kicks in. Yeah. So you're going to get away with it for a while. But eventually you tap out that system and then you start to feel flat and then you don't feel good anymore. And so then you're just kind of like digging into stores of your endocrine system, like the whole hormonal response that you're supposed to have, your fight or flight. And so if you do that long enough, it can be damaging to your system.
Have you looked into the specified diets based on like your blood type or your genetic makeup?
I mean, I'm sure. And
it's going kind of deep, but I feel like the reason I asked, there are some athletes, like, do you follow Sean Baker?
No, but I believe you. There are some people who do well on low carb.
So Sean Baker's the carnivore diet doc, and he's a doctor, but he is also a high level athlete. He holds world records on the erg, and he's just jacked. Yep. And so everybody says like, oh, if you're jacked and you're not eating anything but meat, it's because you're on steroids. And he always responds online. His Instagram is actually fucking awesome. He's like, pay for the test and I'll go take it. Yep. Until then, shut the fuck up.
I think there's definitely
I'm not paying for it, And then another guy, Zach Bitter, who's a ultra marathon runner. He runs 100-mile races. And he's fucking keto. Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. Like
distance though is different because that's a whole different source of energy. So long distance athletes do better with low carb.
Oh, really?
Uh-huh. There's lots of books on how like a low carb or ketogenic approach can be like really positive for endurance athletes. It's more of the explosive sports where you're like really making a trade-off, and there are going to be anomalies. So I'm sure people be like, nope. But yes, in general though.
No matter what we say, there's people screaming at their radio in their car right now.
Somebody's
she doesn't
mad.
know what the fuck she's talking about. You know?
I am not speaking to you personally. I think that's one of the most important nutrition pieces of advice I could ever give someone is you are your own experiment. You are N equals 1. And so what works for you might not be the same as what works for somebody else or somebody else. But what I have generally seen is that keto applied as a weight loss protocol is not sustainable. And tell me I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Most of the people that we know who use it that way end up gaining the weight back and more.
I've been thinking about this a lot lately, and maybe I'm just fucking crazy, but I think a lot of people are who they are, and changing is very hard.
Super hard.
So even if they change for a period of time, the fact that somebody was 300 pounds at one point in their life kind of tells a tale of like who they were for a long period of time and trying to become somebody different. I think that might be the hardest part.
It's super hard.
You know? And so regardless of what protocol you use, you have to like fundamentally change who you are. And I'm starting to wonder if that is... It's not impossible, but it might be close to it. Because I feel like we're all, I don't know. I just feel like I feel like I'm pretty good. I'm not where I want to be. And I feel like I can't fucking get there, and it's driving me nuts. And I feel like I'm always running on like a 85% motivation, but I can never get it to 100. And I'm mad at myself all the time about it. And I have like conversations with myself, and it's not just fitness. It's reading, and it's stretching, and it's like parenting. I feel like I'm always on at like 85%. And I'm like, I need to be, where's that last 15%? And I struggle with it. And then I'm thinking like, there's probably people that are at 50% that feel like they're stuck there. There's people that are probably at 20% and feel like they're stuck there. And so if I can't up my game, and I've been trying for a long time, and I'm always on the grind, and I'm always trying to be better, but I feel like I'm kind of stuck where I'm at. Maybe everybody feels this way, you know?
I don't know.
I'm just being crazy. But,
no. I like this. If you want me to like get excited or nerd out on something, it's not as much I love the nutrition stuff, but like in terms of just how people can grow and change, like that's really where I like my brain's just lights on fire, because I like fundamentally believe that we can start to become something that we're not yet. And that doing it now and sort of like taking those moments where what does future me do? Like, who is that person? And then just identifying what those things are and then doing them now moves you in that direction. But you're right. I mean, just knowing that you feel like you're at 85% and you wish you could be at 100. I mean, you probably would need some sort of significant hardship or some sort of life challenge to like push you to that brink, which again, nobody wants to have to tap into something like that. But maybe up into that 85%, maybe we could get there, you know, for people.
And I don't know if like it's the genetic lottery, if that's a real thing or not, or if it just really comes back to your motivation as a person. But I took that picture, I don't know if you saw it or not, down in New Orleans with a bunch of my friends, and they're all jacked.
Oh, yeah, I did see it.
I'm a fat guy now.
I did see it.
But I can get, there's been a couple times in my life where I was like, oh, I look like a fucking Muscle Fitness cover model. But it wasn't sustainable. It was like, it's just like what we were talking about. You're starving yourself, you're in a caloric deficit, and you're training your ass off. And then you get to this point where you're like, oh, look, I look fucking awesome. And then it's gone as fast as it came. And I feel like, I don't know, I almost feel like there's expectations. And it's not just women. Men have these on us now too, you know? And if you look at people that were considered like athletes and fit 50 years ago, no one was shredded. No one had abs bulging out. That's not the human body. No. I feel like to get there, you have to do things that are not very natural.
Well, you can have a lot of things, just maybe not at the same time.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
you're right. There's no free lunch. I always say that.
No. And so, if you want to get ripped, like you're probably you can do it. You probably just have a trade-off in energy. You might have a trade-off in your sex drive. You might have a trade-off in how you perform, like in JiuJitsu or CrossFit or whatever you like, or running. But maybe you feeling and training your best mean you have a little bit more body fat than you would want.
Yeah. and then I'm the fat friend.
Or maybe you living for 110 years means you make little compromises on both.
Yeah.
You know, you're not training quite as hard as you could. You're not going quite as lean as you could because your whole focus is on, you know, feeling and living your longest and your best, you know, which again, like there's great reasons to do that, but it's really difficult to kind of try to do all of those at one time.
So I think we've talked about it before, but do you know the one single physical attribute that is the most important for longevity?
For longevity?
So they did a study on people that lived over 100, and all the people that lived over 100 shared this physical trait.
One that they had, like not a behavior trait.
No, a physical trait.
No, I don't know what it is.
It's flexibility and mobility.
Oh, I believe it.
It's not your cardiovascular output, how strong you are. It's flexibility and mobility. And those, I mean, you and I geek out on flexibility and mobility a lot because you're like very dialed in on that stuff. And it's the most neglected aspect of fitness. And now it's proven to be the most important if you want to live for a long time, not if you want to be a strong man. So again, it goes back to what you want, you know, but
it makes sense though. Because if you think about, you know, if you make it to being an older person, it's usually a cascade of things that cause the problem. So they fall and break a hip, and then all of a sudden they're bedridden. Then there's pneumonia. Then it's a cascade. So if you can stay movable, if you can stay active, I mean, again, they're not moving hundreds and hundreds of pounds when you're 70 and 80. It's just, can you move your body?
Well, and I read something that the majority of Americans over the age of 60 can't get up off the ground unassisted.
Yep. We were talking about that last week.
And so I had Jenny and I both, the next time we were at our mom's house, we're like, get on the ground. What are you talking about? I just want to see something. Just get on the ground. Actually, just get up. You know?
Yeah. Changed our mind.
Yeah. Actually, just get up. And both of them like used a piece of furniture or something to stand up off the ground. And that's shocking to me.
Yeah.
Like you should be able to get up not only without any furniture, without even using your hands.
We sit all the time. We have this like posture of looking at our phones all the time. We take activity out of adult life. We say like fun and sports are for kids.
Yep.
And then we take all of that from adults and just say like, that's go to work. And you know, when you're not at work, what's fun? Well, sitting around, you know, not doing anything. You're like weird.
Drinking alcohol.
Right.
With
Drinking,
your friends Friday
eating,
night.
you know, and that's, again, of course that's fun, but like we don't do anything with our body and then we wonder why it's hurt. I mean, I've been in that place. I've 100% been there. It's just no surprise that when 20, 30 years goes by, then you can't get up because your joints have changed.
But you know what's even crazier than seeing like bad mobility in adults is when I teach the kids jiu-jitsu, and we have some kids that are like, if you were to watch them run around, you were to watch them wrestle, they have great gas tanks and they have good movement. But when you say, hey, do a deep squat, they can't. Hey, touch your toes, they can't. And this is 10 to 14-year-olds, you know?
Yeah.
And I just think, again, it goes back to you sit in a chair, then you sit in your desk. And sure, you have PE for one period a day, then it's back to your desk. Right.
It's sitting.
And they're already getting bound up, you know?
They say, and this is a really good just like thing to remember, like flexibility without strength makes you prone to injury. You know, imagine somebody who's super flexible, but doesn't have any muscle strength. Like they're going to be prone to injury. They'll overextend their joints. You know, they might have dislocation, all that stuff. It goes the other way too. Like if you get really strong and you don't have any flexibility, you're also really prone to injury.
Yeah.
Because those joints, again, are vulnerable. You don't have the range of motion. But those are, again, kind of like, sort of like people who are pursuing fitness or flexibility. I mean, what you're talking about is like kids who are just sitting and can't reach their toes.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's good that they're here at jiu-jitsu so that they're like moving their bodies and doing stuff.
But that's why I'm incorporating more. You haven't been up here for kids class.
Not in a minute.
So
no.
I'm incorporating a lot of movement drills where we're doing more shrimping and more inverted rolling.
We need that in our adult class.
I've been doing it lately. We'll do a gnarly one. Are you gonna be here tomorrow?
I'll try. Yeah.
Okay. We'll do a gnarly warm up tomorrow.
I like the warm ups.
And well, I'm finding, because I've always said, if we're going to warm up, I want to warm up with jujitsu. Mm-hmm. So that's passing, sweeping, takedowns, like things that are going to apply. But the longer I coach, the more I realize, I mean, we realized last week we were working a De La Riva hook. Wasn't it De La Riva?
Yep.
And people couldn't get the right like grip with the instep of their foot because they don't have the right mobility in their ankles.
Yep.
And so, and again, I mean, we're only here for 90 minutes, so you can only do so much. But I think if you show them, and then it's on them after that, you know? And that's what I tell the kids. I'm like, listen, this is a deep squat. And then I'll kick one leg out and go to the other side and go back and forth, unassisted by my hands. And then just do some other like drills where you sit down on your butt and then you get up to your knees, all without the use of your hands. And I'm like, when you're watching TV at home, during the commercial break, just spend 2 minutes doing some of these drills. Mm-hmm.
Or even if they play their video games, have them do it in a deep squat.
Yeah. And then before you know it, that stuff starts to come together.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with like pull-ups for me. Mm-hmm. There was a point when I couldn't do any pull-ups when I was a kid, and I was like 10 or something. And my dad put a pull-up bar across my doorway, and we decided 5 pull-ups every time you go in or out of your room, however long that takes, you know?
Yep.
And at first I had to jump and kind of get some momentum. And then it got to the point where all the way through until I left for the military as 18 years old, I had that pull-up bar, and it was 5 every time I went in or out of my room. So that turns into hundreds and hundreds of pull-ups a week. And to this day, I've never, like, I don't have to do pull-ups I could not do pull-ups for a year, and I could still probably knock out 30. And I think it's just because that's my body's used to that now. That's
you built it up.
That's part of life, you know?
Yeah, I mean, what you just described is my entire method around nutrition and lifestyle change. Mm-hmm. It's just little bitty repetitions over and over again until it just becomes your life. And then you're not like doing that anymore. It's just who you are. You can do it. And it's the same thing with mobility and body stuff. I mean, you start to walk and all of a sudden you're somebody who walks. And
yeah,
it's like your first walk is a quarter of a mile, but now you're somebody that walks. Mm-hmm. And then you just start to build that up. Well, your body starts to change. At first, your joints are going to hurt if you haven't been walking a lot. Your ankles are going to hurt. Your knees are going to hurt. Your hips are going to hurt. And then your body starts to adapt because our bodies are made to adapt.
Yeah. Well, we're supposed to be like part of nomadic tribes.
Yeah.
Going across the Arctic tundra, traveling 100 miles a day, you know, like the human experience up until recently was rough and rugged and demanding. So our bodies are probably in shock. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Just sitting here all the time, looking at this fucking phone
all day. And the best thing I think about pursuing jiu-jitsu for me has been getting out of I don't know, to me, activity is activity. So if you're starting at 0, anything you do, I'm down for, you know, but for me, I was training a lot of CrossFit and weightlifting. And one of the criticisms of CrossFit and weightlifting is that you could do it all in a telephone booth. So, you know, you could go up and down with the weights. You're going to jump up on the pull-up bar. You're going up and down. Like, it's just vertical. You're squatting with a bar on your back. It's just that, you know, you could do everything inside of a telephone booth. Where jiu-jitsu, to me, has been so beneficial for my body because it's not that at all. It's so much lateral and reaching, and your hips move different, and you're rolling all over the floor, and you're moving everywhere. And it's like you're using your body in a whole different, like, full way. Yeah.
And you'll find like nothing's perfect, right? So you'll get in jiu-jitsu, you're very good at like, I don't know what the word is, but like inward movement, like curling forward, shoulders.
I already know. I already understand that. Yeah.
There's not a lot of open extension and pulling your shoulders back and extending your spine back. And so even though it's very different from CrossFit and it probably provides a lot of things that you were missing, you'll start to find that jiu-jitsu has its flaws too.
I believe it.
You know?
I believe it. No, I already feel that because I always want to like lay on my stomach and just stretch.
Yeah.
Especially after rolling, because I can feel that like all my strength is inward.
Because think about if you're, especially being new, and you're on the defense constantly.
All the time.
You know? So you're pulling your arms in and you're like holding your neck down tight. And
Yep.
if you extend anything and open up, you're going to get something ripped off. You know?
Yeah. I'm trying to keep both in. I still do CrossFit for fun, once or twice a week.
Once a week for me.
Yeah. And
just to satisfy the need of the ladies.
just so for your training partners.
Yeah.
But I try to do that a couple of times a week for fun. And I'm working hard at getting some of the skills back I had before I had my daughter. Because pregnancy, your body changes a lot. And then postpartum that year, you can't do as much. And so there were things that I worked really hard for, like, pull up wise and just strength wise, that I'm like working hard to make sure I get back. So I do that a little bit. And then I'm up here a couple times a week. And then I do some stuff at home. But
you're up here more.
Yeah.
You're probably hitting 3 times a week. Yeah.
A lot of times.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. As much as I can.
And I'm glad that we configured the cameras this way, because the black eye I gave you is now hidden.
There it is. There it is. It went from like, it looked like a goose egg, like a lump, to looking like a spread out dark bruise, to looking really green.
All kinds of pretty colors.
Yes. All the colors.
No, and I tell people all the time, like, if you're training, you're going to get hurt. I don't beat around the bush. Like, you're going to collide heads sometimes, or you're going to fall and post wrong. It's just, there's no way around it.
I think that's one of the things that a lot of women might be afraid of. Maybe guys too. I don't know. But the girls that I've like tried to encourage to come with me, they're like, I don't want to get hurt. And I'm not a good poster child, because I feel like, with my black eye right now, come to jiu-jitsu.
How much shit have you gotten?
A decent amount, but
I want to hear about it.
I think mostly people just think, they're like, of course you did. Of course you got a black eye. Cause I broke my thumb, like maybe 6 months ago up here, and just little things. But the black eye is funny just because of my coaching business, I'm on Instagram a lot. And so people are like, what did you do? I don't know.
And was it a headbutt? I don't even remember.
It was a headbutt. We were just rolling, and it didn't even hurt that much. It kind of shocked me for a second, but it wasn't like that bad. It just kind of blew up. And
again, like, you just kept going. And I like that, because I hate it. So there's hurt and there's injured. If you're injured, obviously, if you got a bone sticking out,
right,
like, probably go off to the side. Let's address this, you know? But if you get your bell rung, or something, just whatever, you got an owie, fight through it. It's a training opportunity to show mental toughness and resolve. Because when you're in a real fight, guess what's going to happen? Things are going to hurt.
Right.
Victor talked about that on the last podcast. He's like, he got in a fight in Seattle, and he was a purple belt at the time and an MMA fighter. And he's like, man, I didn't think a fight would hurt this bad. He hadn't been in a street fight in a while. And he said like his knuckles were all cut up and they were rolling around on pavement. So it was just like, he was like, man, I didn't realize that this is how I was going to feel. He goes, I thought I was supposed to be like all full of adrenaline. But then the other side of that is, if you train enough, that adrenaline response is so much less. That's probably why he was aware of everything that was hurting and getting cut and stuff, you know?
I think the last time we recorded, the last time I was here, everything still felt more scary than it does now. I think that's like the big hump that I've gotten over, is like what you're talking about. There's certain things that are going to hurt and things that injure you that are different, if you're injured, but there's things that hurt or that feel scary that I think now I'm a little bit better at handling. Like, it doesn't feel as scary when someone's choking me. Like, I just hang in there.
That's the biggest thing that you can take away from the mats. And I fucking talk about this probably every episode, but you have to get comfortable being uncomfortable. And when you're losing a fight, it's uncomfortable. And I don't care if you're on our mats with friends and the second you tap, the fight is over. Like, on a primal level, when someone has their arms wrapped around your neck and you can feel the blood starting to get shut off, all the bells and whistles are going off saying, I'm dying. And you have that anxious response and you don't want to tap out. Nobody wants to tap out. You want to fight it and see if you can escape. And that's a whole other conversation because there's a reasonable point that you take that to. And then there's people that allow themselves to get slept all the time. And it's just stupid. But still, when you're battling that, there's a lot of anxiety that comes with that. And that's why I think it's so important that females do train, because if you think the amount of anxiety you feel up here when someone's on top of you, put someone on top of you in a dark alley.
Right.
Without any training. What kind of anxiety do you think you're going to feel there? It's going to be 1,000 times worse. The only difference is you're not going to have any answers. You know, something you said, I think is kind of what sparked the whole idea of doing a second episode. You said, as a female, when a new white belt shows up who doesn't know anything and he gets on top of you, it really makes you realize how vulnerable you are.
For sure.
Against a man who doesn't even know anything.
Right. Because when I roll, and I mean, we roll a lot, I think maybe at our gym compared to, like, I don't know, to me, it feel like we get a lot of practice.
We do a lot of rolls. I tell people all the time, we can do technique. We can do technique for hours. We can drill for hours, and all that stuff is good. But where you really make your money is rolling, because that forces you to find the right timing, the right movement, the right angles. And then also you're applying all of this stuff against a person that doesn't want you to apply it. And that's the only way that you can make your jiu-jitsu real. And that's why, that's why, in my opinion, there's 4 martial arts that are head and shoulders above everything else. And it's boxing, kickboxing, wrestling, and jiu-jitsu. Because all 4 of those disciplines, they actually fight each other.
They're like live situations.
They fight each other regularly. And so a lot of people like wrestling and jiu-jitsu because they don't want to get kicked and punched in the head all the time. And I understand that, you know, if you don't want to be a fighter, it's probably not necessary to put your body through that, but you're still getting real world application, you know? And, I had someone, a family friend actually hit me up about a women's self-defense seminar. Again, I think it was this morning actually. Like, hey, would you be interested in running a 2-hour self-defense seminar? And there's some teenage girls that are interested. And
what did you say?
I said, no. I said, I can't. Like, if they want anything to be real, they have to sign up and they have to train. And I said something in the text. I said, capability requires commitment. And I was like, I should put that on a fucking shirt. Right?
Yeah. Well,
capability requires commitment.
You know what you should teach instead of like self-defense, just like common sense. You should do a women's common sense seminar and say, I can't teach you how to physically defend yourself, but here's what I can teach you, you know, based on my experience. It's like, don't sit in your car on your phone. Like, don't, you know, walk by yourself in these places. Like,
well, in everything, it's a whole package deal.
Yeah.
Like, you have to be aware. You have to obviously be implementing common sense, but then again, like, worst case scenario can present itself at any time.
Right.
And if you have only trained for 2 hours at a self-defense seminar, there's a 0% chance that it's going to carry over to the parking lot in Walmart. It's just not going to. Think about after you had done 2 hours of not just jiu-jitsu, 2 hours of rolling.
Yeah.
What were you capable of doing? Nothing, right? But yet if someone was sitting in a chair and they said, hey, Christy, show me a rear naked choke, you could probably go up and do that, right? With 0 resistance.
Yep.
Like if and that's what you get out of a self-defense seminar. Hey, look at this. He taught me a choke.
That is exactly what you get.
Oh, cool. How do you do it? Oh, you put your hands here and then I squeeze like this. Look, he taps out. Whoa, that works. But if you send someone out of your gym with the idea that because you can do a choke on someone that said, okay, I'm going to sit here and let you choke me, that is somehow going to correlate or carry over to a real world situation, I actually feel like you're doing them a disservice.
I think so too.
When you spar, you realize, oh, everything I learned doesn't fucking work. It doesn't fucking work. And it wasn't until, I felt it click with you like in a moment in time. And I love it when I feel that in people. And it was only a couple weeks ago, right?
Right. It's starting to make sense. I mean, I'm just a baby white belt, but it does feel different.
But you've been on the grind for 14 months.
Right.
And a couple weeks ago, it's like, boom.
All of a sudden.
She understands jiu-jitsu now. And it's like, the understanding of jiu-jitsu is knowing where you're safe, knowing where you're in danger, knowing when to be defensive, knowing when to look for an attack, knowing when to create space, knowing when to take away space. All these little nuances that really dictate the outcome of a grappling match. You can't understand that without,
lots of rolls and lots of practice.
Yeah. I wish we would have logged it.
I know.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And literally seen how many hours you had to spend on the mat before it clicked.
Right. And even every session since then has been a little better. Like all of a sudden it just feels better. But what we were saying about the white belt guys is that when I get a chance to roll with upper belts, which is a lot, I kind of know what to expect based on who it is a little bit, because you train with people, so you get used to it. So this is just my perspective. So I have no idea if this is like a general truth, but when I
already know what you're going to say, and it's an absolute truth.
Well, when I roll with blue belts that are guys, they give me a couple of chances before they would choke me out, right? They don't get anything off of just immediately submitting me. That's not good training for them either. So I go as hard as I can and try to learn, but they don't immediately, But if I mess up a couple times or if I just get myself twisted, I'm going to have to tap. There's no doubt about it. They're going to make me tap. That doesn't happen as much with purple, brown, and black belts. And I think it's because why, right? There's so much that you can do that just you change position and then we're in a whole new situation over and over and over again. And then I really have to fuck up and then you'll make me tap. You'll give it to me 7 or 8 times before it's over. White belts though. I whenever I roll with a white belt guy, it is exactly like I would imagine being attacked is, because they are giant. They're always bigger than me. They don't know anything. So if I do anything that's good, jiu-jitsu, something I've learned, that makes it worse, because then they just for a moment, act stronger.
Just sweat me.
Right. So I have to really be defensive. And that's a really good reality check. It's not like I can't do anything. I can do things against them, but it's a good reality check because I'm very much defensive against white belt guys because they're stronger and they don't know shit about anything. And so they're just smashing me. And
it's going to get to the point where those gorilla white belts that are just using their strength and grunting, you'll sweep them, you'll go to knee on belly. And then I always tell women in self-defense, you sweep and go to knee on belly, now you can run away because you're on top. So you get to have the decision to engage or disengage. And that's why I think teaching people to get on top is very important. It's cool to have a guard and it's cool to be able to break someone's arm from a guard. But if you look at my guard actually kind of sucks. It's 100. It doesn't suck. I shouldn't say my guard sucks. My guard's pretty awesome, but it's awesome at sweeping. My whole guard is to get on top of you. And now when I'm on top of you, I have the option to choke you, beat you to death, take your arm, which is my go-to, or literally run away. That's still an option too. You want to always have that in your back pocket. If you're in a violent encounter, and it's not in the gym, there could be so many different factors why you may need to stay in the fight or you maybe should get out of there. And so I think that's an important thing to think about, especially as a female. Get the fuck.
Just get out.
Yeah, sweep this guy off you and then get out of there, But you have these guys that come upstairs and then, especially we have a couple girls. I think we're down to one now. They can smash the guys.
Yep.
But nobody wants to get beat by a young woman.
No.
That's an ego thing, right?
I'm sure. Yeah.
And when I started jiu-jitsu, there was no chicks. There was no girls doing jiu-jitsu. So when I came up through the ranks, I wasn't getting my ass handed to me by females. But that's a normal part of jiu-jitsu now. You show up to a gym, there's usually some girls that are killers. And you're going to be one of those killers.
I can't wait. Yeah.
It's going to be fucking awesome.
Yeah, I can't wait.
But yeah, what an interesting perspective, because they are coming at you with everything, including the kitchen sink.
That's what I mean. I don't feel that when I go against even a blue belt. They don't do that. It just
they shouldn't
feels.
do that.
That's what I mean. Like they don't do that. So
it's not just because it's not just because you're female. It's because once you realize that you're significantly better than somebody, now we're gonna roll. We're gonna roll hard, but it's a training opportunity for both of us to get better.
Right.
So me being a black belt, how am I going to get better rolling with you? Well, it's not going to be the hardest double leg takedown, knee on belly, and then clock choke you. You know what I mean? Or baseball choke you. Like I don't get anything out of that.
Right.
Like the last time we rolled, I remember I would put you in a bad position and then I would let you work your way out of it. And if you're doing it fundamentally correctly, then I allow it to work. Right.
Right.
And then there was a couple times, and I can't even remember what happened. Maybe you do, but you turn the wrong way or you posted.
Sometimes I still go backwards.
Yeah. And so then I'll make you pay. If you turn your back on me, you're going to get choked. If you try and push me away and extend your arm, I'm going to take that arm.
Right.
But it's a good opportunity for both of us to get better. And especially.
I tried to choke you from close guard. That's what it was.
Oh yeah,
and you
shame
made me pay
on
for
you.
it.
That's my pet
and I haven't
peeve.
done it in a long time.
You know better
either.
than that.
It's because we weren't there first. I was in half guard, and then I didn't let go.
Yeah, but okay. So if you're listening, if you're a jiu-jitsu person, this already makes sense. But if you were in somebody's close guard, meaning my back's on the mat and I have my legs wrapped around the person that I'm fighting, if that person tries to choke me,
it's a dumb move.
You put your weight in a very compromised place, and it's super easy to either armbar you or, like I was just saying, your weight's so compromised, your posture's compromised, if the sweep is there, almost always. You can hit like a flower sweep or a bump sweep, whatever, because your hips are lined up over mine. And so you're taking a decent position, because being inside of someone's closed guard, if you know how to posture and you know where to keep your base, you can be pretty safe there, especially if you post on the biceps, you know? And so now they can't hit you. And if you keep your base away, they're going to have a hard time being offensive. But everybody wants to grab the neck from in there.
Yeah,
it's a white belt thing.
It's a white belt thing. I've almost completely stopped doing it. So it was funny that I did it to you.
So if you're in the guard, what's the only thing that matters?
What's the only thing that matters when you're in the guard?
Yeah.
Posture?
Well, posture, yes, but passing the guard.
Right. Getting out of there.
Yeah. Get out of the guard. Yeah. Control my knees, control my hips, and get out of the guard. Nothing else is going to move you into a more advantageous position. You're not like
attacking in there. Like, not really.
No, you're not attacking at all.
You just got to get out of there.
Get out of there. But another reason why white belts offer such crazy rolls is because they don't know what the like technically correct thing to do is. So then they'll do weird shit. But it's weird shit that, depending on how big and strong they are, sometimes it fucking works. And I was literally just telling the story to Vic. Like, I was going with a guy who had just got out of the NFL. So it lets you know what kind of athlete he is.
Yep.
And he was in my guard, and instead of trying to do anything technical, he just like jumped to his feet and spun in a 360 as hard and fast as he could.
Escaped.
Yeah, guess what? Hey, it worked. So if you're a super athlete with a bunch of fast twitch muscles, that might work for you. But the thing is, like, for people that train, only a very special kind of human being can do something like that. So that's not part of what you train to face.
No, that'd be really funny if you did train that.
No, it was ridiculous. Dude, and this was at the police academy. He got out of the NFL and he wanted to be a cop. So I was teaching jiu-jitsu at the police academy, and then I would roll with all of them. And we would set up scenarios where we'd be like in a bar, and a guy would come in and, hey, the bartender would be like, hey, I told him to leave. He's been cut off and now he's being a problem. So the police officer comes in and then has to escort you out. And then it turns into a fight. And so I'm not kidding. The days that I was doing that, and Washington State Police Academy would pay $500 a day to fight cadets.
Wow.
But they wanted MMA fighters and jiu-jitsu guys. They wanted guys that knew how to fight. And I've never been more beat up,
I bet,
at the end of a day than when we would do, like, it was called like Fight for Life. So it was not a real fight. It was obviously in a controlled environment, but
Rough, though.
you would fight these guys.
Yeah.
And you'd fight 30 of them in a day and fuck, like you would be, I mean, tendonitis, everything aching. I was like, I can't fucking do this anymore.
And that's when you went against the NFL ninja who spun out.
Yeah, it was down there, but it actually wasn't in a fight for life. It was in like more of a controlled training environment. We were just rolling, but still same thing.
Yeah.
Freak show.
When I go, there's not very many other white belt women. I mean, my training buddy, Rachel, she's my homie, and we train a lot.
Rachel Anderson, who wanted a shout out on the podcast. And the other Anderson.
Yeah, she's my homie, my training partner. But when I go against her, it's much more. It's fun because we both do get a little like. I mean, you're using your jiu-jitsu. It's actually calmed down quite a bit over the past couple of months, just because I feel like I'm learning more.
Well, she's coming up on a year in June. And so you have a significant amount of time on her. And then also everybody just progresses differently. That's just jiu-jitsu.
Right.
Some people click in a week and some people never click.
Well, I know she's listening. So Rachel's very strong.
Yeah.
And she's a good athlete and she's learning fast. So that's the thing is like, I feel like she's a really good training partner. She's a little bit taller than me, a little bit heavier than me. And so maybe that's a really good match because I do have a little bit more time on her, training. But it's always fun going against her.
I think it's really good to have that person at the gym that is your training partner, but then also kind of your nemesis, right? Mm-hmm. Like you're coming up together. You roll a lot, and if you guys can keep it going, and I'm not talking anything bad about you, Rachel, but your jiu-jitsu is advancing a little faster right now, just because I feel like you're coming to that point, right? But she'll probably leapfrog you at some point, and then you'll leapfrog her, and it goes back and forth, and those are the best training partners because you're always chasing each other. And I'm telling you what, like you get a couple of those in the gym, you roll with them a lot, you drill with them a lot. It really helps you grow. So it's cool that you guys have that.
I'm grateful for her as a friend and as a training partner. It's nice to have another woman in here. I mean, we have a couple. I mean, Ariel's a monster. I mean, she's so good. But there's not a lot of women. And so I'm okay with that. Honestly, if this was like an all girls class, I probably wouldn't come. I don't know why. I like all girls things, but like, it's just not my jam. I actually want to be in a setting where I feel like it's more real and less like just going through the motions. And I feel like maybe in an all female setting where everybody's been training for a long time, it might be different. I don't know. Maybe I'm just not sure what it would be like.
We used to have a female only class that was like once a week, and usually girls from other gyms would come together, and it was like the girls' day, But yeah, whatever. You know what I mean?
At the end of the day, like
you're gonna get better just jumping in with the team
for sure, and that's what I mean. Like it seems right to me. I mean, I've always been in settings that are mostly men. Like the Navy was mostly men. All the sports I did growing up until I was like in high school, all boys sports. I mean, when I was coaching CrossFit and running a gym, it was like almost, we had a couple female coaches, but it was all men. It was all guys. I've always had lots of guy friends. I have a couple really amazing close girlfriends, but it's just kind of how it is. So it's not weird to me to be in like a mostly male setting.
Yeah. So when you were talking about, I get nothing out of like smashing you when we roll, the only caveat to that is if I get a new person that's like really athletic or really tough, or if they grew up wrestling, like
you'll smash them just a couple times.
They need the smashing
right
to realize like, oh yeah, jiu-jitsu's real, and I've had people get frustrated by that before. They're like, I didn't think it would go like this, and it's like, listen, man, I'm 18 years into jiu-jitsu. This is your first day.
Right.
If it didn't go like this,
then what would be the point?
Why are you here?
Right.
Why, you know what I mean? What do you hope to get out of this if you could come here on day one and have luck against a black belt that's been doing this for 18 years, And, but we got some new guys that are savages.
Strong.
They're like young kids, wrestlers. And so I've been beating up on guys the last couple of weeks, but I always have the talk with them afterwards. Like, listen, I didn't do that to you trying to like belittle you or make you feel like I could just, watch, I can smash you. I did that to you to let you know jiu-jitsu is real. Not every round's going to be like that, but if the right kind of person needs to feel that jiu-jitsu is real right out of the gates, otherwise they're not going to buy off on it. You know,
I honestly can relate to that just from CrossFit, from like there were times where I would coach something or say it and somebody wouldn't hear me because why should they listen to me? Right. If they don't know me, and I'd have to kind of prove it. And again, like I didn't love to do that, but sometimes you have to. Sometimes I would literally say, go ahead and keep doing it like that because you'll never progress. And let me show you why. Like if we change it like this, but it would be like a physical demonstration of it. And again, like it's kind of douchey if you do that a lot, but like sometimes you got to.
Well, it's leadership 101.
Yes.
Like don't ask anything of your men that you can't do yourself.
Exactly.
Right. So if I'm up here telling you that this works and then you could just kick the shit out of me, well, that's
right.
We have a problem now, right?
And leadership's very important to me, especially in physical stuff. I mean, you just got to put your money where your mouth is and do the work. And a lot of those repetitions are quiet by yourself. Nobody sees the work that you do. But then when somebody comes in and they assume that they can just do whatever. And then you have to show them, no, like thousands of hours, or just, hey, this takes time.
Do you think, because you said when you were coaching CrossFit, a lot of the team was men, were they reluctant to take like strength and conditioning advice just because you're female? Did you ever get that?
I think at first maybe. So, when I was coaching here, this was like my first CrossFit coaching space. I was a new coach. And so I was personal training and I was coaching, but still a pretty new coach. But when I moved to Maryland, I started coaching at a gym there. It's called CrossFit Packs. It's a great gym. I started as a coach there, but it was pretty quick that I became head coach. And there was a lot of like incredible athletes at that gym and coaches, males. And I really think they made me prove it. They were not just going to be like, oh, she's head coach, I'm going to listen to her. It's like, they didn't care. So I had to prove it. And again, I'm not going to outlift them, but that's not the point. The point was that I knew what I was talking about. I was doing the work. I was training hard.
Yeah.
I could coach them and show them things, both on the how to coach perspective, but also just on the lifting, how to lift better, how to move better, all of those things. But I was also really trying to say we're all always learning. But absolutely, I mean, they made me prove it. And that's okay. I'm down for that.
It's good, right?
I'm down for it.
Like, have you rolled with Skylar yet?
Yes, I think.
New kid, blonde.
No.
Real tall.
Okay, no.
Great gi.
Yep.
Well, his day one, he's just like a savage, right? But he's a young, tough kid, really good athlete. And so I was watching him roll, and I was actually watching him have a lot of success with people on his first day. And because he grew up wrestling, right? So he has that base, but he also has the right mentality and he has the right approach and he's gritty. And so I was like, okay, he needs this. And I just beat the brakes off him, right?
Yeah.
And then I had that talk with him, like I was saying, I said, well, hey, just so you know, like I didn't have it out for you. I was actually watching how well you were doing, and I wanted to give you a ferocious round so you felt it. And you know what he says? He looks at me and goes, I want you to do that to me every single night.
That's funny.
You know?
Yeah, he liked it.
The right kind of people will take to that when you push them or you put them and take them into deep waters. Like, and then that also makes them buy off on what you're selling. And it's kind of like, I mean, it's not identical to what you were talking about with CrossFit, but it's very similar. Like he said to me, he's like, I've never felt somebody do that to me before. So now he's going to go home and think about it and be like, okay, this shit's real. Because I can't have him up here on day one beating everybody up.
Right. And
then he'll be sitting in his bed at night thinking like, do I really need jiu-jitsu?
Yeah, you had to give it to him. No, I think it's good. I mean, that's the fun of it though. I mean, maybe we're just kind of like weird though, because we're cut like that. I think it's, to me, knowing that there's this like long journey to something is part of the fun.
It's a huge part of what jiu-jitsu is. And anybody that thinks they want a belt, like, I don't think you're looking at it right. Like it should take years in between belts, and that's good, you know, like, and I'm just busting Andy's balls and he's just joking with me, but he's always like, when am I getting my brown? When am I getting my brown? You know? And, but the reality is, like, I feel like a promotion in jiu-jitsu should feel like a promotion at work. It should feel like, fuck, I wasn't ready for this. Like now I have more responsibility, or people are going to be looking at me, or people are going to be asking me. And every belt I got, I was like, oh no. And when you look back on it, when it's all said and done and you get your black belt one day and it took you 10 or 12 years, it's going to mean so much. Like that journey. And you'll literally look back on it and be like, dude, this was me as a blue belt. And when I was a purple belt, this is what I was doing. You go through phases in jiu-jitsu. And even once you get your black belt, you still go through phases. Like I'm a completely different grappler today than who I was when I got my black belt. But it's fun to like grow into your belts and then like have kind of a journey with each belt. You don't get that if you fucking rush it. And that's what's cool. And plus, like, you've been doing this long enough now to know how slow the process is. Yeah,
it's slow. And I think people look and they're like, what are you doing? You got a black eye now? Like, but I mean, to me too, this has been sort of like this quiet journey in some ways, because I share a lot of my life on Instagram. It's just part of what I do, because I want people to see the things that I preach for FitMe, living it out in my life. So I share my life.
Except jiu-jitsu?
I share, but not a lot. And it's almost been because I appreciate the grind in a way that I share it. I talk about it. I mean, people see what's going on, but I mean, pretty much every CrossFit workout I do, I post a picture, because I'm like, people need to know it's, you know, I didn't want to come today and I came, you know, and like, hey, I'm doing this workout. And I do that with jiu-jitsu too, but it's been a lot more of a quiet journey. And I don't really know why. It's not because I didn't want to share it. It's almost just because I wanted to earn it. You know, I didn't want people to be like, oh, she's just doing the martial arts thing, you know, look cool, or like, she did her first class and it's on. I wanted to like be one day a purple belt and be 4, 5, 6 years in, whatever. And people be like, holy shit, how long has she been doing this?
Yeah.
I just kind of wanted that quiet grind. And so I share it, but it's just kind of like, I appreciate how long it takes.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's a weird thing.
No, it's not a weird thing at all. That's the whole beauty in this. Like, nothing worth having in life comes easy. And so knowing that you're going to have to put in a substantial amount of work, that in itself, like, and it's like, unfortunately, all martial arts at some degree start to get watered down. Like, a black belt in jiu-jitsu should mean you're a fucking problem. But a black belt in karate doesn't mean that anymore. At one point in time, it probably did.
Yeah.
You know? And so it's up to us to keep that lineage of jiu-jitsu like strong and make people earn it. It's like, if you're a purple belt in jiu-jitsu and you put your hands on someone, they should have a problem, period. You know? And I mean, I'm already seeing it at some places where they start to promote people a little too fast, or they feel bad because this person's been doing it this long and it's just not clicking. And so there's sympathy belts, and I hate all that shit.
Right.
You know, like I tell people all the time, if you make it to purple belt, that's fucking rad. Like, not everybody needs to be a black belt, you know, but if you keep on the grind and you keep showing up, one day you're going to get that black belt. There's no secrets. And it's just staying on the grind. And I think that's what makes jiu-jitsu special over most other martial arts, because they don't have that kind of grind that we have, you know? It
is a grind. And that's what I mean. I like kind of respect it in a different, I mean, I don't get me wrong. I respect CrossFit and weightlifting and all of the things that physically people do, but this is just like weird. It's just different.
But you did say after a Friday night where we rolled for 90 minutes straight, you said, that's the hardest thing I've ever done.
Yeah, it's different. It is different. I mean, and again, it's just because it's unpredictable. And one of the things that I love about doing CrossFit is it really is you versus you. And like, there's some mental things that you can accomplish with that. And that is unparalleled.
You versus you can often be harder than you versus someone else.
Because you have to come for it and get it yourself. At some point when you're getting more fit, there's not any coaching or something that's going to make that difference. It's your own head. And so that's a really cool victory. But I guess rolling for 90 minutes straight, I mean, you get, what do we get, a minute off between rounds?
1 minute.
And then it beeps again. And if like you could make eyes with somebody and they're like you, and I'm like, oh God. And then you go again, there's
or White Belt Bob's
right.
signature move. He'll just look at you and go, hi. You're like, no.
Yeah, but it's hard because then you're back in it and the adrenaline kicks again but I really like that. I think that, again, it's a little less predictable because there's another person involved. And even if you're smoked, you still have to play defense. Like, yeah.
And I always tell people that's the best time to play defense. Like, imagine being able to fend somebody off when you're exhausted and tired. Because fighting is easy when you have a full tank of gas.
Yeah.
It's when the gas tank starts to run out. That's what separates, I was going to say the men from the boys, but not in your case.
All the people. Yeah.
That's what separates some people from other people.
Well, Wednesday I was hiking with my daughter. And she's probably 25 or 30 pounds. She's little. And I carried her in one of those hiking backpacks. So it looks like.
What hike did you do?
Part of Wallace Falls. We didn't do the whole thing.
That's out in Index, right?
It's like in Gold Bar.
Okay. Yeah.
So, I mean, it was probably 2.5 miles in, 2.5 out, but having her on my back, like carrying probably 35 or 40 pounds total, like with lunch and water and everything. It was a challenge for me with my knee because I've had quite a few knee surgeries. So that's always good anyways, just for me to do. But anyways, I came to jiu-jitsu that night after hiking with her. And I told you, I was like, I came pre-fatigued because I was already a little bit tired. And it was a different kind of roll too, just because my body was wore out.
Yeah. Do you have to have like motivational speeches with yourself to come to practice sometimes?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
That used to be a nightly thing for me. When obviously I run the gym and I'm expected to be here on time. So it's not up for debate. But when I was coming up through the ranks, and maybe it's just because I think in my core of cores, I'm kind of a bitch. And I force myself to do things so that bitch doesn't take over. Yeah. But it was every single night because from where I worked to my house, the gym was on the way home. And so, and it was a long commute. So I'd have from the time I left work until the time I got to the off ramp where my gym was at to be like, dude, you're too tired tonight. You need more sleep. Your body aches. Just go straight. And then there'd be another part of me like, no, take the off ramp. Take the off ramp. Yeah. Go to the gym. I know. Like, I'm not kidding. It would get to the point where the off ramp's 100 feet away. And I'm having this internal debate and last minute, pull the steering wheel to the right and go to the gym. And I would talk myself into training every night. But what is that voice inside of you that wants you to be weak?
I don't know.
I don't. And I know that some people don't have it, but the voice inside of me that wants me to be weak is strong.
Strong voice.
It tries to talk me out of shit constantly. And I don't understand it because have you ever done a run where afterwards you're like, fuck, I wish I didn't go on that run?
No, I mean, you always feel great after.
So after 25 years of working out, I know exactly how I'm going to feel, but there's still something inside of me that's like, don't do it.
Because it's uncomfortable. And I think it's uncomfortable no matter what. I mean, probably at this stage, there's not a lot of people that are like, at least here, who are giving you that feeling. But no matter what, you're training. You're uncomfortable. You're making your body physically uncomfortable. I mean, there's plenty of nights that I don't want to come. And I even tell Rachel that sometimes. I'm like, I didn't want to come. I made myself get here. And she's like, why didn't you want to come? Because she said, it's like.
Rachel wants to train jiu-jitsu 24/7.
And I was like, because I didn't want to come because I worked my ass off all day. I mean, I absolutely love what I do, but I have a team of 12 people. And,
So you have a team of like 12 coaches?
I have a team of 8 coaches. And then we have, 4 support staff. And so
dude, you're big time now. So
it's growing and I love it. And I do mentorship. So I do business mentorship with other coaches who are growing their team and learning. So I love doing that too. And then I coach people, so I do that, but my kids are also in the picture because of, they're not back to school full time yet in Washington State. So like the boys are still home half days and my daughter is home.
So stupid.
It's so stupid. And so
tell me about Logan's football season really quickly.
Yeah. Logan, my 12-year-old, is in his first tackle football season.
Who's one of our gray belts.
Yep, he's a gray belt.
He's a little savage.
And he loves jujitsu. So he's doing well. It's his first tackle football season. It's hard for me to watch because he has the capacity to be more aggressive and explosive than he is, but he's had this huge growth spurt recently. So he's 5'5" at 12 years old. So he's getting tall. He's not super tall, but all of a sudden he's tall.
Yeah.
So he moves kind of like a big giraffe.
A baby giraffe
that doesn't know how to
learning to walk.
Yeah, and I just want to get it after
Does he listen to the podcast?
I don't think so, no. But he doesn't know how to be explosive yet. And of all of the genetics that I passed to him, fast twitch, explosive power is one of them. And so I can't wait for him to learn to sprint. He just runs like a big old doofy baby giraffe. And I'm like, what are you doing? Put on the gas, but.
Dude, take him to Centennial. Mm-hmm. Do you ever do track workouts at Centennial?
I don't because of my knee, but
so you can't sprint?
I probably could if you were chasing me, but I don't train it.
I'll chase you.
But I don't train it because of my knee, which is ironic because I train jiu-jitsu. And so it's the same kind of nonsense, but yeah.
No, I used to do like Centennial track workouts once a week, and I had to stop because of my knee problems too.
Yep.
But my knee's feeling better lately.
You can chase Logan. You can chase him for me.
I think I'm gonna start track workouts again.
That's what he needs.
Because I used to be fast as fuck, and I like being fast.
I like being fast. It's one of the trade-offs. It's not that I couldn't get a little bit better at running, but because my knee is so messed up, it's just a trade-off. Like if I was going to go run a mile, well, I might be too sore to come up here tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I don't want to do that. So I just kind of have to trade.
I haven't ran in probably a year because of just all the cartilage issues. And now I'm like I said, I'm shooting those peptides into my knee.
I saw,
and I feel better. And I think it's not just placebo. I think my body is healing itself. And Angie sends us a text today and goes, "You want to do a weight vest run?"
I saw her.
I'm like, no. Me and Jenny are both like, "No, not today."
Yeah, the knee stuff is hard. I mean, if you didn't hear the first time I was on the podcast, I've had 10 knee surgeries. And so all of that was before CrossFit, weightlifting, and jiu-jitsu. That was from the Navy.
But 9 of them were from having surgery done by a
the Navy
orthopedic surgeon.
The Navy jacked it up. So when I was 18, they did my first ACL reconstruction, which by the way, I never had a torn ACL. So let's just start with that. There was no torn ACL. They just said your knee's not working. Yeah.
It's just too loose. Let's tighten it up.
So
that's just a military doctor that just wants to get a rep in.
Yep. So they got one ACL reconstruction rep and they were like, "Oh, it didn't work. You're a statistical failure." So then they're like, "Let's do it again. This time though, let's take the graft from your good knee rather than a cadaver." So they harvested from my good side the bone patella bone graft to put in my bad knee. So then they did that second one. Then they did 2 more surgeries just to try to get my range of motion back, all when I was, active duty. Then I was about to head on deployment and they were like, "It didn't work. Let's do it one more time." Jesus. So they did a 3rd ACL reconstruction. Then they sent me on deployment. So I never rehabbed it or anything. So it was like 2 or 3 months later, gone on deployment, on a ship. And so then once I got out of the Navy, I went to a civilian doctor and I said, "I'm a statistical failure. I don't know what happened." I didn't know that there was that they did it wrong.
Yeah.
And so when he evaluated my knee, he goes, "They drilled the hole in your tibia in the wrong place." And he's like, they repeated the same mistake 3 times. And he's like, "You were never going to have any tension in your knee." So for that 8 or 9 year period, I had been basically running, doing all the PT tests, deployed all that stuff on a knee that was not functional. So he did a double surgery.
Leave it to the military. It doesn't even surprise me.
No.
It's fucking so stupid though.
He did a double surgery to try to fix it. The first one, he did a microfracture and a bone graft, and then that had to heal for 3 months. And then he did my 4th ACL reconstruction on my left knee. And that one, unfortunately, just didn't take. And probably because my knee was so destroyed. So that's kind of where I found myself 40 pounds overweight after having my 2 kids, totally stuck, not being able to be an athlete anymore. So everything that's come after that.
Though. That's a real thing. Injuries for me, injuries are the biggest. I'm furious when I'm injured. I just get down in the fucking dumps, and I hate it because I'll see dudes that are like, they get shot and they're paralyzed and they're like, they go win the cycle, the hand bike Olympics. You know what I mean? Just straight fucking savagery no matter what happens.
Yep.
And then I twist my knee or whatever and I can't run anymore. And it's just, I'm depressed.
I know.
Because especially like when running, I was never a good runner, but running was always like kind of where I would just go be free. That was my mental reset, you know? And it's like, yeah, I love jiu-jitsu and CrossFit and all the stuff, but there's just something about going out on the trails for an hour. It's fucking, you can't recreate that in any other type of physical fitness. And when I lost that, it was just like, poor me, you know? But fuck, I can still do everything else. I can even bike still, you know?
Maybe do like speed kayak or something.
No, I don't need another I don't need another
feel
hobby.
like you can think, yeah, I don't know. I mean, the thing is that after my knee, all those surgeries, I couldn't play sports that I grew up playing. Like I tried to play soccer. My knee would just blow up swollen, you know? So I kind of got this belief in my head that I would never be able to do anything again. And it was like, I slowly got that back, but it was first with just like going to the gym and having a really good coach who was like a great personal trainer. He was my coach. He kind of gave me some of that back because he didn't treat me like a baby. He didn't baby my knee. He was like, you're an athlete in there. This is what we're going to do. Your knee will be okay. We're going to modify if we need to. And he was kind of like the gateway because when I would tell myself, well, I can't do CrossFit because of my knee. And then when I first tried it, I was like, okay, well, I'm going to do it. I'm just going to like change everything. And it was like a slow roll of, okay, I guess I can do it. And then I would just do more and more and more. And I think doing it actually gave me back a significant amount of function that I had lost.
When you say you can't do it, like you just literally didn't have the mobility to like do a squat?
It was my brain telling me I can't do it. So I thought to myself, well, if I do this, my knee's going to be so swollen, I can't do anything. I won't be able to walk. So I thought to myself, well, I can't do CrossFit. So I thought I couldn't do squatting and I couldn't do, weights and I couldn't jump rope and I couldn't climb a rope and I definitely couldn't jump off a pull-up bar. And there was all these things that I thought that I couldn't do. And over time, I was able to do most of them. There was a few things that were like, that I literally couldn't do. But almost all of it I could once I started working at it. And my body got back a significant amount of function through doing it. Now there's trade-offs. There's sometimes that I got injured too. And
what are your limitations now though?
So now it's funny because I had told myself sort of the same story even when I was in CrossFit. I was like, I can never do jiu-jitsu because of my knee. Like I'd like to, but my knee. And part of it was that I don't have an ACL. I don't have anything holding my knee together stability wise, but also
neither does Daniel. You've seen him roll.
I know. So I told myself, well, there's just too many variables. Right. And so I thought that I couldn't, but it's just been slow over time that I've been able to do a little bit more and a little bit more. Now my left knee does not bend all the way. That's the big limitation. So I think even if I was unconscious right now, you could not put my heel to my butt. My bones have changed, which can happen with arthritis, and especially when you've had my kind of knee history. So I don't have, I probably have, at least 2 fists or more distance that I can't.
From your heel to your butt?
At least. And that's on a good day. So on a bad day when my knee's swollen, it won't bend even close to that. So in jiu-jitsu, that's kind of tricky because there's certain things that are hard that I just am trying to work around right now. And I can't sit on my heels.
Your butterfly guard doesn't work.
I can't do butterfly. I can a little bit. I thought I couldn't at all. Like that's what's so great about it is kind of like, I kind of get to bust my own mental boundaries a lot. There's always going to be something that I bet there's true limitation, but a lot of things that I thought I couldn't do, I've been able to do.
I think we've talked about it. Do you follow the knees over toes guy?
I follow him a little bit. Yeah. I know who he is.
He had a bunch of surgeries too. And the same story, like bunch of fucked up surgeries and was told you'll never do this, you'll never do that. And so he went on this like odyssey of how to increase knee mobility, and the proof's in the pudding.
Yeah.
He can do crazy shit now.
It's so funny because if you ask me if I would pay, you name the number, if I could have a new knee, like I would pay a lot of money to just like have a brand new knee.
So would I. And not a fake one.
Sometimes that's, so I'm not like somebody who's like very judgy or I don't like think crap thoughts about people too much. You know, I'm sure I'm doing the normal amount, but one of the things I catch myself thinking a lot is I get really jealous of people like wasting their knees. I get jealous.
You should. Like, fuck those people.
I get mad.
They got good knees and they're just playing fucking Fortnite.
Do you want to hear my new thing that I'm jealous of?
They should have to give you their knee.
I get jealous of men wasting their testosterone.
Please
Isn't that weird?
Please go into this.
I think that's such a weird thing to say.
I'm not trying to waste my testosterone.
No, I think
but if you want more, I'll give you some.
No.
You can't say that.
And first off, to any ladies who are supplementing, but do you, I have zero problem with it. But sometimes because I'm not supplementing with any testosterone, I look at guys and I'm just like, and I know it's just the way that I am and versus like a male body being more fast, more explosive. Like it doesn't matter what I do. There's going to be a degree of separation there in speed and strength. I mean, in grip strength, it's just one of those facts, right? So sometimes I get mad because I'm like, I just wish I had a little bit of that, like a little bit of that super tank.
So you're saying if you see a guy that just is like
wasting it, I get mad a little bit.
Fat and lazy.
No, I don't think any judgy thoughts. That sounds really terrible. But I do think I wish, I could steal his explosive power and I would use it.
You know what? You can. Here's the thing. Like, I don't know. Like, there's a dichotomy. Like, being judgy and like putting yourself on a pedestal and putting yourself above others. Yeah, that's probably not a healthy place to be at. But the other side of it is if you look at someone that is just outright neglecting their body and they're wasting their potential and they're choosing to live a lifestyle. Like, here's the thing, like heart disease was the lead killer of 2020. Mm-hmm. It wasn't COVID. Mm-hmm. Not that we need to go down that rabbit hole, but it continues to be heart disease every single year. And most of that is from poor choices. So when you look at someone that's making those choices, it's okay to be like, what you're doing is fucked up. Mm-hmm. What you're doing is killing yourself.
It's the flip side of gratitude to me.
Yeah.
Because I bet you there's people that look at us that would kill for, what we have. Like they've gotten a shit deal in the health docket,
Yeah.
And they would kill to be in a position where they could like bitch about their knees,
Yeah. No, I see what you're saying.
It's the flip side of gratitude though, because you're grateful. Like I am grateful for this body that I have, but I'm also like not going to sit out.
Well, and I'm not even saying looking at someone that's wasting it and like being upset with them or wishing this or that, but just calling it for what it is and seeing it for what it is, I mean, it's pretty clear what's the right path and what's the wrong path now. And that's why, like, when you see, what magazine was it that had some morbidly obese lady on it not too long ago? And it was like, she can be healthy too. Actually, no, she can't.
And I think that's the mistake is like,
she can't. And I'm not saying she's not a nice person. I'm not saying I wouldn't be friends with her. She could come train here. Like, I'm not saying any of those things, but you got to call it what it is. And it's not a healthy lifestyle to choose, period. And you know what? I don't give a fuck. I don't care if people smoke cigarettes. I don't care if people drink Cokes, but it is what it is. And let's not pretend it's not something. Speaking of Cokes, to go off on a tangent, we used Uber Eats for the first time ever on Friday night.
What'd you get?
Chicken teriyaki.
Okay.
And did you train Friday night? I don't remember.
Yes, I did.
I don't even remember Friday night because I cut wood all day.
Yep.
And then I got to the gym and I was already a mess. I actually felt bad because I didn't bring the right kind of energy that I'm supposed to bring to the mats. And then I got home and Jenny's like, I was so beat. I just ordered Uber Eats for the first time. Because it was like our first time, they threw in 4 Cokes as a thank you or a welcome aboard or whatever. And I walk in, I'm like, what the fuck are these? And Jenny's like, I don't know. I don't like.
You're like, it's not my soda.
They gave it to us as like a gift, a first time gift or something. So I just cracked them and dumped them all down the sink. But that's how out of touch people are. Hey, thank you for buying food from us. Here's a gift. Poison.
I know. And here's the thing.
And I know I'm a fucking wacko, but Coke, is poison.
It's one of our basics in FitMe. It's one of our 5 things.
They're not going to sponsor the podcast anytime soon.
No, I tell people fast food isn't an option, and like, let's not drink our calories, and that includes soda. I mean, one of the things that I hope that
50 grams of sugar and 12 ounces.
You know what's good
fluid.
though? A Coke slushie from 7-Eleven.
I'm not saying it's not good.
No,
it's probably the best fucking thing in the world.
It is crazy.
But again, it goes back to my like, I have to be all or nothing. And soda was one of those things that it is not part of my life.
Me neither. And honestly, it's because it was growing up for me. I mean, I drank a lot of soda, and then I drank a lot of diet soda because I thought that was better.
Yep, me too.
And now I haven't touched it in 7 years. I've had one soda.
Oh, you're better than me.
I've had ginger ale. I take it back. I've had ginger ale because I'll have ginger ale once in a while.
I'll do energy drinks sometimes, the sugar-free ones, thinking that like that's okay because they're sugar-free. But I have no business drinking a Monster. You know what I'm saying? I have no fucking business.
Yeah, I can't say I've never had one.
But
of
I'll
those.
do it.
Yeah, I've definitely had those. But I try not to do it on the regular because I don't feel very good once I start. Like,
see, I'm the opposite.
Oh, you feel
if
good?
I drink a Monster, because I think it's just so loaded with vitamins.
Maybe you should drink it then.
Oh, I feel fucking unstoppable. Or if I get a headache, if I pound a Monster, it's gone.
Yeah.
And it's not just caffeine. It's a combination of like caffeine and then all the vitamins. And so, yeah, I mean, but I know like all the artificial sweeteners.
There's a lot of artificial
all the bullshit.
stuff.
I don't need that.
Yeah, it's hard because, coaching people on changing their lifestyle, to me, I don't feel judgment for someone in a position like that because I understand exactly how you can get there. I remember how I got there. It was like surgery after surgery, plus having babies, plus eating garbage food, plus, trying to quick fix it. And I wasn't a bad person. I wasn't a bad mom. I just hadn't taken care of myself. And so the path out of it is to start taking care of yourself like a little bit by a little bit. And like you said, there's a lot of talk around being, okay at any size. And I think as a human, yes, you are still worthy and, a valuable human. But if you're not taking care of yourself, then you can't feel your best. And so you're not able to, I don't know, you're leaving it on the table too.
I feel like telling people that that's okay is like telling people that smoking cigarettes is okay.
Right. It's just not true.
It's like, hey, like you said, you're a good person. You're cool. I like hanging out with you. But what you're doing to yourself is poisoning yourself.
Right.
And it's the same thing like smoking cigarettes 50 years ago. Leading doctors recommend you smoke Camels. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's how out of touch people were. And then they came to the realization is like, oh, wait, smoking actually is fucking terrible for you. And now everybody understands that. And guess what? There's still a lot of people that smoke and go ahead and smoke. I don't fucking care.
Right.
But we all understand what is happening to you. That needs to be the same understanding of drinking soda and eating bullshit.
And eating bullshit.
And it's not that it's not a judgment thing.
No.
It's like, just let you know what you're doing. But when you're putting it on the cover of magazines saying fat is healthy too, or whatever the fuck the phrase said, like
most of the women,
you're literally lying to people.
I think what's funny though is that most of the women that I know who are overweight are not feeling like that woman on the cover.
Well,
and so I don't think they're bought into that lie.
She doesn't feel it either.
Right. I don't
care who you are. I don't care who you are. If you're not in a healthy body, even if you tell everybody else you're happy about it, when you go home, you know that you're not happy about it. And the other thing is, it's not just who you see when you look in the mirror, but it's literally like, and I'm not here right now, but when I'm in my top shape, and I've been there a few times in my life, just walking around feels different. You feel lighter on your feet. You feel more energized. You feel like your cardiovascular system can't get tired. Like that's how the human body is supposed to operate.
But the beautiful thing is that you can feel that on that journey. Even the very first workout that you do can start to be that momentum. Like you can start to feel some of that come back.
Well, so it's interesting you say come back because I've talked about this a lot. Once you've been in what I would call like your best shape or elite shape, once you've been there, you now have a baseline. Like, fuck, I used to be able to run a 6-minute mile. And now I know when I'm not there, the difference in how that feels. But there's some people that have never had that baseline established. And I would imagine, and I mean, you probably dealt with this a lot as a coach, someone that's never had that baseline, they're not trying to get back to somewhere.
No.
They don't even know where they're going. It's like walking in the fucking pitch black, you know?
Yeah. And that's and one of my favorite things about coaching women who are on that journey is giving them those wins along the way and pointing it out to them and showing them like, look, you're doing it. Like, this is what it looks like. You're doing it right now. And like, oh, you just walked 3 miles for the first time. Like, you're a fucking rock star. Like, and I'm not just saying that. Like, I really see it because I know what they're doing in their body. Like you just said, they're walking in darkness. They don't even know. And so doing that first 3 miles, man, that is impossibly hard. And so I love helping build momentum from that. And people can change their lives, their bodies, their lives, everything. Some of them quit their jobs because all of a sudden now they've got their life back. And they're not going to put up with being miserable at work anymore because they're not going to be miserable in their bodies.
I think everybody should quit their job.
I know. We were talking about that.
That's my professional advice. Well, I mean, I can't say work sucks, right? But if you're giving 8, 10, 12 hours a day, I had this realization when I was a police officer is that I would go to work and we would go to roll call, which was at 5 a.m. And I remember thinking, if I could push a button and make it be 5 p.m. because there's 12-hour shifts, I would push that button. Mm-hmm. And then I started realizing, think how fucking toxic that is. Out of everything we have in this world, the one thing that we can never get back is our time. That should be our most valuable commodity, is what we do with our time. And I was arriving at a place emotionally where I wish that I could give up 12 hours every day.
Mm-hmm. And that's, I mean, you don't want to live a life like that.
What the fuck? And I don't care if you're a cop or you're Amazon or you're a fucking barista. Like, if you go to work and you're looking forward to getting off, you got to ask yourself, what are you doing? Mm-hmm. Does that make any sense? And all those things that I talked about, there's people that enjoy that. There's people that like going out there and being cops. Not very many of them, especially people that have been doing it for a while. I don't know very many cops that enjoy the job. But regardless of what you've chose to do, if you're not enjoying it, fuck, man, this is our one chance.
Mm-hmm. And if you're not respected, if you don't like the people you're around,
all of that stuff.
I mean, it really can pollute you. A lot of people find themselves in unhappy places, and when they look around, they're surrounded by it.
Yeah.
And they're like, why am I unhappy? And it's because you have people who are toxic around you. You've surrounded yourself with social media that like messes with your head. You don't like your job. You don't take care of yourself. There's no end in sight. Of course you don't feel good.
And I feel like work is modern day slavery to a point where they've replaced the whip with a fucking paycheck. And I know that sounds like super dramatic to say, but when you see how many people are unhappy, not only unhappy, but are unwilling to change simply because I got a paycheck coming in. I need that paycheck. And for me, I mean, obviously being in law enforcement, that's my peer group. That's what I got to see. But there were so many people that don't like the job, that don't agree with what's been happening over the last couple of years, or last year, I should say, but they won't walk away because they need that paycheck. And it's like, that's a fucking dark place to arrive at. Mm-hmm. And that's why, I mean, at least in that profession, a lot of people, the life expectancy after retirement is 5 years.
So much stress on first responders and police officers.
Stress.
And military too.
Yeah. And then one day, hey, guess what? You're gone now.
Yeah.
And I always tell people this too. And I should tell your husband this if he's going to listen. Like, I know you want to give to the agency. You want to give to your service. But the day you walk away, nobody misses you. Nobody gives a shit that you gave 26 years to this agency or to this branch of service. The only thing that's going to matter the day you walk away is the people that love you and the people that are still with you. And so that's why I think it's important. That's what you should be prioritizing right now, because we used to say in the feds, it's like when you turn 57, it's mandatory firing. They call it mandatory retirement. No, you're getting fired.
Yeah.
You don't get to work here anymore. Goodbye. You just gave your whole life to something that on a day, now you're done.
It's hard.
Now what matters, you know?
There's such good in sacrifice and service and all of that. And I mean, this goes beyond just, you know, military and first responders and police officers. I know teachers, I know people who just give their hearts for service, you know? And that's a noble thing. So I don't know that we should give it up, but at the same time, I don't think we should kid ourselves either. And know that if you're like, you know, if you're a teacher and you're doing it for the kids, know that, but don't do it for the administration.
Yeah.
Like they don't have your back necessarily. And so do it for those kids. And if you're this, you know, a soldier, sailor, do it for the people who work for you, you know?
Yeah.
Not for big Navy, not for the Army, you know, they don't care. But like, do it for your people for sure. But then at the end of the day, if you're miserable, that's just your one shot. Like, it's all you get.
But even if you are active duty or you're a police officer or whatever, I guess my whole point of this rant is understand that your 8-10 hours a day that you're giving to them is what it is, but prioritize real life outside of that. Mm-hmm. Because a lot of people don't do that. Like their career is everything and that's what they prioritize. And then when they retire, they're just looking in the mirror, not even knowing who the fuck they're looking at. And that's why I think it's important. Like I tell people, I think I talked about in the last podcast, that's one thing I love about jiu-jitsu for cops. Hang out with people that aren't cops. Mm-hmm. Have a peer group outside of the department. Have experiences that are completely unrelated to your administration or the guys you work patrol with. And it's healthy.
Keeps you normal.
It does. It keeps you fucking normal. Mm-hmm. If you find yourself hanging out with the same people you work with, then you're just stuck in this bubble. And I mean, I've done it. I've hung out with cops, and guess what the conversations are when you're having beers with cops? Well, the fucking chief said this, and then they hired this fucking person, and he shouldn't be on FTO. I wanted to fire that guy, but they told me I had to give him another chance. And it's just perpetuating that toxic bullshit.
Yep.
And I didn't realize how toxic that bullshit was until I walked away. I didn't walk away. I got fired. Everybody knows the story. But I'm a new human being away from that, doing stuff like this. Like this is enriching to your life. Mm-hmm. Even though we're just two people shooting the shit. Like that's what people are supposed to be doing.
Yep.
You know,
I think we have to seek out that kind of balance. Even if you like your job, you like what you're doing, you got to seek out different kind of people in different settings to keep you even keeled. I really feel blessed that I have a different group of people who are in different parts of my life and just keep me centered.
Yep. Now you have a jiu-jitsu tribe.
Now I have a jiu-jitsu family. I have CrossFit family, and I've got my FitMe family, and you know, obviously my real family.
Family actual.
My family real life, you know, is my kids and my husband.
I wanted to ask you, you said earlier when you were downstairs doing CrossFit, you realized like, oh, my knee can handle this. Mm-hmm. You said, but I probably still can't handle jiu-jitsu. What was the moment that made you say, you know what? Do you remember? I'm going to try it.
I think I just got sick of my own bullshit about it. I just decided, you know what? I'll do my best. If I have to do this whole thing on my back, then whatever. And so it was like, I just kind of gave myself an in, and I said, maybe I'll never do any takedowns. So I didn't go like full in my head of, you know, I can do it all. I think I just said I'd wanted to do it and I'd been watching.
Did you or Logan try it first?
Logan.
Okay. So that's a big thing too, I think. I mean, I literally had a guy sign up Friday because he watched his kid do 2 practices. Yeah.
And I want them to know that if they get something like, I mean, for what it is, bum deal, right? Like with the knee surgeries from the Navy, it's the knee I have. so I can either sit out, I'm in my 30s, I can sit out, or I can just do my best.
Yeah.
And so I still have things that I'm like, I can't do that. And, hit me a year from now, maybe I will be sitting on my heels. Like, I don't know. But I think I just got sick of not trying. And I was only a couple months postpartum when I started. I think I was 3 or 4 months postpartum, and I was like, okay, fuck it. Now's the perfect time.
When you first started, did you give yourself like I'm going to try this for 90 days? Or did you just kind of wing it?
No, I just did it. I just did it.
I always tell people that are reluctant or that actually verbalize and articulate like their reluctancy to train, but they're going to try it anyways. I always say 90 days, I think, is kind of the magic spot.
I think that's a good number. That would make sense.
Like 3 times a week for 90 days. And then you're going to be really immersed in the jiu-jitsu culture. You're not going to have good jiu-jitsu yet, but you're going to kind of understand what's going on at the gym and kind of what's expected of you and what you're supposed to do and how you're going to start developing relationships. I feel like that's the magic number that if you last that long, you're going to buy off on it. If you're at the right place anyways.
Yeah. I mean, starting with the kids class was like just a toe in the water. I could practice some things and I wasn't really rolling much. And I started to like it because I would fall asleep like thinking about it. And I was like, that's weird.
That means you got the bug.
So then I started coming to a couple.
Have you ever said, hey, let me put you in a rear naked choke. I want to see if this works. Like when you're in bed.
To Josh?
Yeah.
No. Okay. I learned my lesson with that.
Because when Jenny started dating me, I was a baby white belt. I just started.
You were like, come here.
Yeah. I would be in bed and be like, again, like you said, falling asleep thinking. And you're like, okay, grab this wrist and then put my other arm here. And be like, come here for a second. I literally need to try this right now.
Yeah. He wrestled all growing up. And so
he's tough.
He's really tough.
Like when he came up here and rolled around with the guys.
I know. He wants to come back.
Yeah, he should. He should train all the time.
Yeah. He liked it a lot too.
I tell people all the time, the best space to be a good jiu-jitsu player, in my opinion, is wrestling. Mm-hmm. He's grappled his whole, did he wrestle for the Navy too?
No, but he was very physical growing up. Like he wrestled all the way growing up, but I mean, I think he had like a pretty, I don't know. He did some martial arts, but I think he was more like street fight kind of situation.
That was our generation.
A lot of growing up, And
how old is he?
He's 79. That's like not
he's a
79.
year older than me.
Yeah.
You know what? I don't know why.
Was that 40?
41, probably. Yeah. I don't know why me and Jenny were talking about how old Josh was, but we were trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
I think yesterday, and I was like, well, if they were in the Naval Academy together, it's probably up to 4 years older than Christy.
He's 4 years older than me.
Okay, so I was right.
Mm-hmm. Yep, he's 4 years older, which is probably the most you could be,
Yeah.
And both be at the academy together. But yeah, he has that background. I mean, like.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
And you can say, I'm not going to.
No, that's okay.
Yeah, this is up to Josh to tell you. But being a guy that grew up fighting and grew up wrestling and is in good shape, was he surprised at all by how jiu-jitsu felt? Did you guys talk about that?
I think he was surprised. I mean, he'd have to speak to it, but I know that he was like, whoa, I think he liked it a lot because of that. I mean, he has 2 brothers also. So he grew up, them beating the tar out of each other. And so I think he would love to do this and get good at it.
Yeah. Cause he said something to me twice. Now he mentioned staying away.
Well, Tyler got him. I mean, he outweighs Tyler by quite a bit.
Yeah. And he said something, I think it was when we were at the barbecue the other night at Rachel's, and he said something about Tyler. And I was like, oh, the jiu-jitsu's in his head.
Right. Because I think he was like, knowing somebody that's much smaller, but still could move around him probably was like a little bit of a mind fuck.
Yeah. Especially a guy that's tough and wrestled his whole life. Yes, that's what I mean. Yeah. And like, I love it when good athletes that have a background in wrestling have that moment of, okay, I need to add this to my toolbox. And then those are the guys that become the savages of savages, because you already have a bunch of tools to apply to how we do jiu-jitsu.
All the takedown stuff, all the like moving in the right direction, the stuff that I do backwards, he already does correctly.
Like the ability to know your base, to be able to scramble, to know when you have good posture or bad posture. All that stuff, wrestlers have been doing that their whole life. Now you just tweak it and add the jiu-jitsu in. But if wrestlers don't have that stuff, then jiu-jitsu is their kryptonite. That's the other side of it, you know, because a lot of times wrestlers will pressure you on top, and jiu-jitsu guys want that because I can use that to sweep or choke or submit, you know?
Yeah. I learned my lesson trying to show him something because like I said, I mean,
I don't know where this is going, but I'm laughing.
Well, before I moved back out here, I did one of those self-defense classes, not repeatedly, but I went one time, and it was exactly like you said. I was pumped after. I was like, I'm going to show you something that I learned. So
he's like, I've been fighting my whole life. Watch this.
So it was an accident. So I was like, sit on me, you know? So like at that point I was like, sit on me and put your hands like this, like on my neck, but don't choke me, you know? And I don't know what.
Like some Napoleon Dynamite stuff.
And I was like, I don't even remember what I was going to do. Like, I think what I was supposed to be doing was bumping him so he would catch himself forward and then turn my hips so he would turn over. Who knows what they taught me? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And maybe go into some weird ass arm bar that was not an arm. I mean, it was a 2-hour class. So again, who knows? But because he's wrestled and because he's been in fights, I didn't tell him what I was going to do. So when he bumped me, when I bumped with my hips, and I actually have pretty strong legs and explosive hips, so I bumped him hard. He didn't let go. So his hands just slid and choked me on accident.
Like, did I just choke myself?
Yeah. So and then I got mad at him because he didn't choke me hard, but his hand slid and it kind of like, you know, hit me in the trachea.
You should have got mad at your hips.
I was mad. I was like, you weren't supposed to do that. And he's like, well, what? You just did that. I'm supposed to do this. And I was like, that is not what we were doing. I was trying to show you what I learned. And so I had like a sore throat for a day or two because of that. So no, I don't show him anything. Even now that I'm like learning things for real.
Yeah, but I was gonna say though, now it's real.
Right, now it's real.
Not bullshit.
Now it's not bullshit. But I still like if one of the guys in here hurts me or breaks my thumb or gives me a black eye, I don't get that mad. But I feel like I would be mad at him.
Well, speaking of mount escapes, you got me off of you.
I did it
the other night. And I knew as soon as you put your hands on my hip what you were gonna do. So I had an answer for it, and I transitioned to a knee on belly.
Yep.
And I remember you're like, because after the roll, you're like, it almost felt like it didn't work because I just transitioned to another position. But I was like, no, make no fucking mistake about it. I had you mounted and you got my hips off of you and moved me to the side, which typically would be fucking awesome, right?
Right.
But because I anticipated it, I showed you that move. So I have to have the counter to it, right?
Yeah.
I was able to transition to a knee on belly, but it was awesome to see that. And when people start to learn that mount escape, like Stanaway is another guy that's his go-to now. You can't fucking stop people from like, I won't mount him anymore because I know that he'll use it to escape.
I will give up a position just so that somebody will end up in mount so I can try to do that.
Yeah, that's good. No, I mean, as a white belt, you're already feeling yourself finding those paths, right? Like side control can be harder to escape than mount.
I think it is.
You know?
It is for me right now.
So yeah, you let people like, and not only let them, but sometimes you have to bait them, right? And other people would rather have side control than mount, right? So that's all part of the process.
Yeah, I
try
like
and
it.
Get people to go to where you have some tools and bait them there, you know?
I prefer something that I can, and I know you're not supposed to do this too much when you're first learning because Ariel always tells me to slow down a little bit, but I like places where I can move like explosive and fast. And so any of those places I try to get to. And I know you're not supposed to do that too much.
Don't say what you're supposed to do and what you're not supposed to do.
I'm an explosive athlete.
I think this is my opinion on it. And everybody has their opinion, right? So whatever. But I always tell people, if you're fast, use your speed. If you're strong, use your strength. Like you're developing a skill set that obviously we have fun up here while we do it. Like everything we do in jiu-jitsu isn't because you might get in a fight one day, right? But at the same time, if you want it to be real, you want your game to adapt to what your physical attributes are. So if you're a big, strong person, learn to use your strength in a way that helps you win fights. If you're a fast person, use your speed. If you're extremely flexible, that's like telling a guy that's extremely flexible, like, don't rely on your flexibility. No, fuck yeah, rely on your flexibility. Because guess what? If you can do things that are kind of unique to your body, that presents a problem with people. Like, you've rolled with Scott Stillwell, right? So and for people listening, he's actually done the podcast, but he's another one of our black belts. You can pass his guard and you can be in side control, and he can do what's called a jailbreak, where he puts his butterfly hook in over the top. Like, let's say you're on side control off to his right-hand side. He'll take his left foot, and not even unassisted, he just has this weird dexterity to where he'll get his butterfly hook in and then swivel back around and you're back in guard. And it's like, what the fuck just happened? Like BJ Penn used to do that, because I don't know if you used to follow him back when he was like a UFC, a high level UFC guy, but he has this weird dexterity to where he can move his legs and his hips in ways that most human beings can't. Use that. That's your physical attribute. Use that.
I think compared to women, I'm fast and strong and explosive. When I compare myself to male athletes, no. But
that's because they're wasting
their
testosterone.
But I tried to not. I mean, Ariel's advice is good too, especially like if that's what I was defaulting to, as opposed to like trying to move more deliberately and slow down. And when that's explosive power doesn't work, then you're stuck. So,
yeah. And I like to use, I mean, obviously, we could fucking talk forever about it, right? Because there's no right or wrong answer. There's trying things and seeing if they work and seeing if they don't work. So I tell people, use your physical attributes to the best of your ability, but I'll try and mix it up too. Like sometimes you do want to use strength and pressure people. And then at the right time, transition to being more mobile and using speed. And I find when you do that, like you're being heavy on people and you're pressuring them, and then you'll pop up and like grab like Toriando grips and then be fast and nimble and throw their hips side to side and jump to a knee on belly and then start pressuring them again. And if they start to have any success, like you can mix the two back and forth. And what that does is it presents a lot of problems, because now they don't know what skill set you're going to throw at them, you know?
It's hard. Mentally, it's funny because on the ground, I feel fast. On my feet, I'm slow because I'm afraid, like with my knee. And so because I'm always worried, like and not always, but I think about it, you know, I don't move very fast on my feet.
I don't even know. This is bad coach moment.
Okay.
What are your go-tos from when we start? Because for people listening, I do not allow people to start on their butts.
I don't start on my butt.
No. I'm saying our academy, we start standing, period. So you either need to learn to pull guard if you want to be a guard puller, or you need to work your takedowns. But either one of those, there's an art to it, you know?
I wish that I didn't have to be a pull guard person, because but that's what I do.
But to protect your knee, you find yourself doing that?
I put my left foot in where it's safe, like on somebody's hip, and I'll pull guard as many as I would rather start there.
Okay.
And I know that's a weakness. I know that that's not ideal.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. It depends on what we're talking about here. Would you ever pull guard in the street? Fuck no.
No.
Period. No. But there's guys like the Mendez brothers that would pull guard on me and strangle me 100 out of 100 times. You know what I mean? So it's like, there's people that have taken that game to being multiple time world champions. So you can't say that it doesn't work, but I also think for what we're doing up here, it's cool, but just know that shouldn't be your go-to.
I don't love it that it's my go-to.
But you're afraid to shoot and wrestle because of the dynamic like pressure that puts on the knee?
No, I think I'm afraid I'm going to miss or I'm afraid they're going to shoot and
you're going to have to defend.
Yes. And that's what I'm afraid of. I'm less afraid of going after them. It's more just like if I get taken out at the knee, well, I don't know what would happen. So it's just uncertainty.
Surgery number 11.
No, I would just say, fuck it. No leg. Like, I don't even know. Like it, but I think I recognize it's a hole in the game.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. Like I am keenly aware. And so I hope that like, as I continue to work on it, that one day I'll be like, I remember when I used to pull guard.
So when we work like doubles, how does that feel on your knee?
I can't do that ankle to knee roll. You know what I'm talking about? How you're supposed to be
able to step in and then you drive the knee forward.
Mm-hmm.
I see.
On the left, I can't do that at all.
Maybe we'll work some like arm drags, clinch work, some upper body stuff.
Mm-hmm. I can do an arm drag.
Body lock, like arm drag to body lock, and then takedowns that way.
I've done that a couple of times.
Okay. I
like that.
And then some judo stuff too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, I want to learn. I think, again, it's just my own head. I'm sure there is a limitation for sure with my knee, but also it's just unknown. I've not done it before. So I don't know how to do it. And so then it's like scary. Oh, I can't because I don't know how. But I bet if I slow it down and I work on it, I could do it.
And then also like, and I mean, part of me hates this because I hate it when you slap and bump with someone and they're like, hey, my left knee hurts. My wrist is sprained and my neck has a bulge disc in it. So just so you know, it's like, dude, I'm not going to take a fucking anatomy chart into our roll. Like if you're rolling, you're rolling, right?
Right.
Now with that said, like, I know Daniel has a bad knee. I'm not going to fucking go for a knee bar on it, right? But to put expectations on someone to protect you during a roll, it's kind of it's kind of unreasonable.
And I don't say it almost ever.
No, so that's what I'm saying though. But if you think getting,
I told White Belt Bob though the other day because I was gonna roll with him and I said I just need to let you know if you get my knee in a weird spot I'm gonna tap. I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna go anywhere. It's just
yeah. Well, that's because he's the freak of freaks.
Yes.
Every single person he rolls with, he picks up in the air.
That's what I'm saying. I was like, I just need you to know.
He sets them down nicely. But he lets you know, like, I could kill you right now.
Right. That was the first time in a long time I had said, hey, by the way, I got a bad knee.
He is one of the most interesting, like, experiments. I'm going to call him an experiment because his whole background's rugby. Mm-hmm. But I didn't know that rugby is literally like combining football and wrestling.
Smashing.
But he can do doubles and singles and clinch work and like high C's and like all of these moves that you look at him and it's like, oh, that's all wrestling.
Huh.
But it's from rugby.
Yeah. And in rugby, it's like very dynamic.
And it's, he has better hips than I think almost anyone I've met. Mm-hmm. Big, strong athlete with good hips. And then also the other side of it is rugby, just tougher than shit. Mm-hmm. Like no matter, if watch him when he's rolling, no matter how good of a position or a bad of a position he's in, it's just this big smile on his face.
Yeah, he's laughing.
He doesn't care. Like you can't break that spirit.
But he was the first one in a long time that I was like, hey, by the way, I got a bad knee.
Yeah, of course.
Just so you know. But that's because he's really dynamic.
Yeah, he's a gigantic, explosive athlete.
Right.
Well, it's like Craig. Like, you know, Craig.
Just need you to know.
Sorry for throwing you under the bus, Craig, but Daniel had his ACL reattached and it was healed. And then he shot in on it and popped it again. Ugh. And that's what, I mean, he's a 300-pound wrestler.
Did Craig knock out somebody's front tooth?
Oh, and he broke someone's tooth. Yeah. But I don't want to. So every academy has their guy that hurts everybody. And I've been happy that we don't have that here. Mm-hmm. Like, that's always been a goal of mine. If you're a guy that's consistently hurting someone or consistently hurting people, you need to fix you. Right. So my last academy, not my last academy, not when I was with JiuJitsu, because JiuJitsu does a very good job at like keeping control of his gym. Mm-hmm. But I was at a gym before I moved to California. And again, there's this guy that's 300 pounds. He was a black belt and he just would fucking go as hard as he could with everyone. And every single injury of the gym was from him. And it's
That
like,
sucks.
bro, what the fuck are you doing? You outweigh everybody by 100 pounds and you have the skill to apply all of these things however you want. You have to chill the fuck out.
Yeah.
And like, if it's up to, it would be up to me up here. If I have someone that's hurting someone all the time, that conversation needs to happen. So Craig's only at 2 injuries.
Yes.
But here's the thing. I mean, being a good fucking person and being like reflective, that stuff has haunted him.
Oh, I'm sure.
Like
I know he felt bad.
Yeah, we've had talks about it and like how he needs to be better and how he doesn't want, like, he even stayed away for a little bit afterwards. Because he's like, bro, I
like
got
the nicest guy in the universe.
He's like, I don't feel comfortable coming back after that. And I was like, dude, come back. Like, let's start training again. But he's like, he couldn't shake it for a while. It bothered him so much.
That's because he's a nice human.
Yeah. But yeah, he fucked Andy's mouth up.
That's funny. It's really funny.
And if Craig's also listening, if you want that brown belt, you got to hit a berimbolo. I'm waiting. 300-pound people don't bear. Do you even know what berimbolo is?
No, but you referenced it the other day when I was doing something.
Okay. We're going to work some of it. We're going to work some of it this upcoming week.
Yeah. No, I'm excited.
And it's not my go-to, but part of being a coach is I don't teach everyone my go-to. Because if this gym was my go-to, it would just be a double leg and an arm bar.
Right.
You'd learn 2 moves.
Yeah, that'd be it. That's
you
it.
know? But I try and show a little bit of everything so people can then decide what they want their game to be. That's the whole journey, you know?
Jiu-jitsu's, I don't know. I think even over the past year, it's gone from feeling like doing it. Because you asked when I started to do it, if I like gave myself a 90 days or something. And I didn't, but I also don't think I had like bought in on it either. I was just like, I'm going to do it. I'm tired of saying
it out.
Yeah, I was like, I'm tired of saying I'm going to do this. So I'm just going to do it. But I didn't like really catch the bug. I don't think I started attending the adult classes right before everything got locked down for COVID. And I had started to really like it. That's when I said I started to like fall asleep thinking about it. I was like, all right, well, I'm going to go to adult classes now.
Well, I remember, and I don't know when this was, but you made a post that said, my goal is to be a purple belt.
Yeah,
and
it was
like,
after I had come back.
Oh, she's fucking in.
Yeah, it was definitely after I'd come back. It was when Logan and I had been back for a while.
Okay.
Yeah, and because my son Logan, who's 12, he's like a big little kid, was coming to the adult classes for so long with me. And it was like a really cool thing that we did together, to be honest. So it's kind of like I'm looking forward to tackle football being over so he can come back. But somewhere along the line, but even on our last podcast episode, I was still telling you I didn't think I liked it.
Yeah, I know.
I'm like, I'm still going to make myself come, but I don't think I like it. So I'm past that now. I do very much like it. I like the puzzle of it. I like learning. I do see moments where I like can call my own bullshit and be like, wait a minute, you don't know if you can butterfly guard. You just think you can't. So let's go ahead and just slow-mo try, and then I'm finding I can do more than I thought.
I bet you're going to be doing everything before too long.
I would like to think it will be similar to CrossFit, where there will be a few things that are always going to be like limiters. But for the most part, I will have developed like the skills and strength to do a lot of the things and just work around places where I'm not comfortable. But I think I don't know how to describe what this is, but if I could have everybody do it for a year, I totally would. I think I know everybody, that's a silly thing to say.
No, it's not. Everybody should do jiu-jitsu for a year.
I do think that would make people better humans because it's humbling in a really good way. You don't get anything. Like you said, like you can come for a year. You don't get a belt.
Yeah.
You get your ass kicked for a year. Like you just get to come. And so I think that's humbling too. I think that's good. I think that seeing people who are smaller than you or shouldn't be able to do things that can do things like is again such a good puzzle. It's like another language or
a lot of people kind of make that correlation between jiu-jitsu and a language because it's a whole language that you're speaking with your body. And think about learning a language. I've tried to learn languages and I fucking suck. Like that's not my thing, right? But that's how much effort it takes. That's how lost you feel. Like imagine like going to a foreign country. I've done it a million times. And you walk into somewhere and you're just trying to articulate something simple like, hey, where's the bathroom? Or I'm looking for a restaurant. That's how out of place jujitsu feels when you don't speak the language.
I used to joke and say I used to say this a lot, that when I would come, I felt like I was like a little kid in a washing machine.
yeah, exactly.
Spin me around. I'm like, I have no idea what's even happening.
But it's cool that you're not letting. I never saw that frustrate you. You know, maybe you just internalized it.
What, the knee or just
no, just
the journey,
the feeling of being in a washing machine. Like if you feel like you're in a washing machine, that articulates to me that nothing you're doing is working,
right?
And you don't really know what the fuck's going on.
And someone else is just doing it to you. Yeah, just like moving you around.
And that becomes. Some people have a really hard time with that. You know,
I think it's because of just the other things that I've done. I can see that you're not going to be there forever.
Yeah. You understand just by the dynamics of what we're doing that there's, even though you're not there, there will be light at the end of the tunnel. Yeah. And you know what? And then you kind of poked your head out in the last couple of days. Like I know. Or weeks. Yeah.
And I've seen bodies. I mean, I trained bodies for a long time, you know, CrossFit, weightlifting, and as a trainer before that, I mean, so I got to physically watch bodies change. So I have faith in it. One of the things though that I didn't think though is I thought that I could physically learn it. I didn't think I would ever be good at it. I had a lot of like limiting beliefs around being aggressive or like enjoying.
You're aggressive as fuck. Don't you feel?
Yeah, no, I do think that's what I'm saying. I didn't think that before, but I think I'm fairly aggressive, you know, for the stage that I'm at.
How are you getting submissions on people?
I get a lot of arm bars, and I'm just starting to get some kind of like bow and arrow chokes that are a little bit messed up, but I'm still getting them. So I get those a lot.
Yeah, no, you go for stuff.
I try.
And that's something that I even watch and kind of wish that I could do that. Because I won't go for something, and it's like a mental block. I won't go for submissions unless I feel like everything, like I have to make the stars align. And then once the stars are aligned and I feel like there's no escape, now I'll try and take the arm. And people say like position before submission. Like that's kind of like a fundamental that is taught. But then the other side of it is like, if you don't go for it, you're never, there's no chance in getting it. And like you watch Kozak roll, it's fucking wild because
he moves in a different kind of way.
He will pounce on things when he's in a bad position, when he like, you watch some of the things that he does and it seems to kind of break like jiu-jitsu fundamentals, but it fucking works. Another one is Seven. Seven will go for stuff and he'll commit to it. And a lot of times it doesn't work, but if you watch it starting to work more and more because he just has that belief and you know what, I'm going to fucking just dive on this and make it work. And guys that can do that, I don't know. I look up to that.
I feel that way that I'm willing to try and go for stuff on the ground. So I see the limiter there. Like I think that if I could start feeling that sort of just go for it for takedowns, that will help me a lot.
Or you could sign up at the academy up the street where they start on their butt.
Oh yeah. No.
And then you don't have to worry about it at all.
No, that would be terrible for me. That's what I mean. I'm almost so glad that I wasn't ever given that option because
you know what's
I would have
crazy?
taken it from day one. I would have been like, oh, well, my knee's bad. I got to start from my butt.
There's the people that start here and we got, do you remember Zach Yates?
Yes.
Okay. So he's a purple belt under me, but he moved. So he's no longer here. But him and some other guys that like literally started jiu-jitsu here and then grew into monsters on these mats right here, go to other academies. And I've gotten text messages like, man, dude, I went to this academy and they fucking started from sitting down. And I'm like, bro, everybody does that.
Wow.
Like that's normal.
I'm glad that you didn't give me that option because I totally would have taken it.
No. And like JiuJitsu doesn't allow that. That's where I got that. Every other academy I've ever been to, they start sitting down. And JiuJitsu is like, no.
I think once in a blue moon, I'll start from that. Like if I just choked out Rachel or something.
Don't let me see it.
I might be like, all right,
talk shit
I'll
to
give
you
you
guys.
some, I'll give you a more dominant position.
Well, no. So there's difference between if you like Daniel will say like, hey, I want to start with you mounting me.
But that's what I mean.
I start in side control.
From her trying to pass.
No, that kind of stuff is different because you're putting yourself, one person is getting advantage and then you have a problem you have to solve.
Right. That's
Very
what we
different,
do.
But what I'm talking about is people will start both parties on their butt
we never do that.
in like a neutral position and start scooting towards each other. And it's like, what the fuck are you guys doing?
It's like crab fighting.
Yeah. But the weird thing is
crab soccer.
I mean, there's a DVD out there. It's embarrassing that this even exists. And it's called Takedowns from the Knees for Jiu-Jitsu.
That's funny.
And it's like, what the fuck? What are we doing?
Great name.
Like, we are developing techniques to start on our knees, even though in competition, you don't start on your knees, and on the street, you don't start on your knees. So whatever direction you want to take jiu-jitsu as a competitor or for self-defense, none of it starts on their knees, except a lot of places do that. It's aggravating.
Yeah, so I take it back. We have not just started on our butts just because. We've done a deliberate, a position.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so I won't have to talk shit to you guys.
No, we've not done that. We've deliberately said, like, you're going to start from standing. I'm going to start from here.
Yeah. Okay, good.
And see if you can pass. Like, that's the point, not just
And I don't know if you've seen
down.
it, but I've seen people a couple times, like, start from the seated position. And I'm like, nope, get up. That's not what we do here. And here's the thing. If you want to grab lapels and you want to pull guard right away, so now you're at a seated position, cool, do that, right?
Right.
But you have to go through that motion. Because pulling guard, there's an art to it. If you're a shitty guard puller, I'll pass on your pull every time. And now you just pulled mount or side control, right? Mm-hmm. You don't want to do that. And so you have to learn timing. And like you said, I already heard you say it earlier today. You said you like to find the hip with the foot. Mm-hmm. And it's like, okay, good. That's exactly what you should be doing to create the right distance and pressure. So now the second your butt hits the mat, you're presenting problems to them, Yeah, it doesn't feel like giving up everything. It just feels like, pulling guard. I just want to work from there. Yeah.
But I don't want to do it forever.
And you know what? I talk shit about it, like jokingly. There's a meme that says like, every time you pull guard, God kills a kitten or something, right? But I pull guard a lot. I like doing guard work. Like I said, my guard is a sweeping guard, but still I have to hone that. And then there's other people here, like there's people that I can't take down. Mm-hmm. So I can wrestle them and then get stuffed. Like I shot a double on White Belt Bob and had this monster sprawl on top of me. Whereas if I pull I'll pull a butterfly as I'm pulling butterfly and sweeping all at once. Mm-hmm. And then whoop, flip
and then he's over.
End up right on top,
Yeah.
And so
the way you talk about not starting from sitting is the way I used to talk about not using bands in CrossFit.
Yeah, you hate bands, huh?
I'm not a band fan. Mostly because it doesn't progress you right in my mind. I think that there's place for it, especially if you are doing it really controlled. So we're talking about bands for pull-ups and stuff like that. I think that if you are doing it slowly and you're using bands, you're like really paying attention, bands can be helpful. But that's not how most CrossFit gyms use them. Most CrossFit gyms use them like because you're not strong enough to do pull-up, then you're going to use a band and you're going to do kipping pull-ups with a band. And I don't think that that's helpful.
Because Jenny progressed with bands, right?
She might be the one person I've ever heard.
She didn't believe. It's funny you say this because she didn't believe that she could do pull-ups without a band. Mm-hmm.
I rarely ever see someone go from bands to no band, which is why I don't believe in them.
Well, and she didn't want to go to no band. And J-Ro's like, put the band away. Mm-hmm. And she's like, what? He goes, you're done with bands. Mm-hmm. You've progressed past them. And she did 100 pull-ups that day.
Yeah.
The first day she ever did one.
That's funny.
She did 100 because that's how strong she had gotten and not realized you can do fucking pull-ups.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
And that's what I mean. She would have stayed with a band forever potentially, unless a good coach had been like, no more band.
If someone would have told me in like 2012 that my wife would be able to do 100 pull-ups, I would have fucking bet every dollar I've ever made in my life that was a complete fucking lie.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
It's crazy.
Yeah. I mean, women who have never...
And that's 10 sets of 10. She's not doing fucking
100.
100. I don't know if anyone can do 100 pull-ups, but...
Some of those CrossFit
in a
girls,
workout, she can do 10 sets of 10, which is fucking awesome.
Yeah, that is awesome. And there's so many things that you can do that women don't think they're capable of. Climbing ropes, doing pull-ups, you know, putting big weight overhead, you know, lifting more than their body weight, you know, all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, if again, I bashed keto and now I'm bashing bands, but like there are appropriate times to use bands. It's just more often than not in CrossFit gyms in a class setting, people are using bands because they can't do kipping pull-ups or real pull-ups. They can't do even one strict, and they're going to do 100 banded pull-ups. To me, it doesn't make sense. I'm like, can't we progress your strength with some other drills so that you get to the point where you can do some of these things? And
you know what you can do, which is, it doesn't sound like it's an ass kicker. Just hang on the bar.
Hang on the bar.
So like my elbow's fine, but Angie was all concerned that it was still fucked up the other day. Mm-hmm. And she's like, instead of pull-ups today, you're just going to do bar hangs. And that was worse than doing pull-ups because it was 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off for 10 minutes. I'm telling you, fucking, that doesn't sound hard until you're like,
super hard
until you're in like minute 6.
Yeah.
And just fucking smoked. You know?
There's a hero workout in CrossFit where you just hang from the bar for, I think you have to do 6 minutes or something, but then every time you drop, you have to go for a 400.
Oh shit.
So it's like a hard workout.
Cause I know it's over 2 minutes, but it's under 3. I can't hang on a bar for 3 minutes.
So you have to accumulate 6, but every time you drop, you have to run. And so it ends up being like you get back and you get back on the bar, and maybe the first time you held it for a minute, but now you're only holding it for 30 seconds. Now you're off and you got to go run again. So it's
would be hard
workout.
That'd be hard to time.
Well, it's your total time to finish.
No, I know, but I mean like...
Oh, just keeping track of like
I guess
how far.
The only way to do it almost have like a stopwatch.
Yeah, or just like note I'm like a minute 30 in or whatever. But yeah, you're right. It would be a little tricky.
I want to try that.
Yeah, you should. I'll look up the name of it for you. But I mean, I never did any pull-ups when I was in the Navy. I couldn't climb a rope when I was in the Navy.
Even in the Marine Corps, like the girls don't even, I mean, maybe it's changed, but when I was not in the Marine Corps, but I lived with Marines a lot and used to talk to them about their PFTs, they would have to do flexed arm hangs.
Mm-hmm. We did the same thing to get in the Navy. Flexed arm hang. You had to hold your chin over the bar for a certain amount of time. Yeah. But we worked on pull-ups. I just never got one. And
maybe it's because you didn't have bands.
I don't know. I think it was a lot of just not working at it, to be honest. If I had to like pinpoint what it was, I was a soccer player growing up. I did not have a lot of upper body strength, and I didn't work at it. I was like, I can't do a pull-up. It was just like a blanket statement.
Yeah.
And so it was funny that I actually got it during that season of losing weight, you know, after I'd had all those knee surgeries and my kids, and I'm like, you know, in my late 20s. And I remember my personal trainer would just like, and I think that's also, you know how like you kind of get biases based on who brings you up.
Yeah.
Like you were saying with Jarrell and stuff, like I think my old trainer didn't use bands. He used his hands, and that made me pull, and he only helped me as much as I needed help. Yeah. And so that's how I learned to teach it. Well, that got me to a strict pull up so fast.
I saw you. That's how you're teaching Rachel.
That's how I teach Rachel.
Is she there yet?
I think she could be soon.
I think she's there.
Yeah, she's almost there. But to me, it just accelerates it. Well, that doesn't make sense in a class setting for CrossFit, right? You can't have everybody helping everybody.
Yeah.
So I see why, like, if you were doing one-on-one, that is the fastest way. You want to get a strict pull-up, you do a partner assist, you know.
Yeah.
You mix it up with other stuff too, for sure. But in a class setting, there's other stuff that you can do that would actually move you towards a pull-up faster than a band in my mind. Like there's too much trade-off. And so anyways, Rachel's getting close. But I didn't do any of that when I was in the Navy. So it's just funny.
One thing I hate is when people talk shit about kipping pull-ups. Mm-hmm. That's not a pull-up. It's fucking stupid. CrossFit pull-ups are stupid. And it's like, hey, dummy, they're different things.
It's totally different.
It's like I can go for a jog or I can run 40-meter sprints, right? That's both running, but it's working totally different. My body is being taxed totally fucking differently.
It is.
It's the same thing. Like some workouts are dead hangs. Mm-hmm. And then other workouts are kipping. Like they're different things.
They're totally different. And I think a good coach would check it. So, I mean, if somebody gets their first kipping pull up or they get a bunch, it's a celebration, right?
Yeah.
Then I circle back to like, let me see you do a strict one. If they don't have it, we got work to do.
Yeah, of course.
I don't want to see you do a lot of kipping because you're going to damage your shoulder joint. Like we need the strength to do a strict, and then you can really build this, but you still celebrate like the win of it and go back to the foundation. So I think if it's done properly, that's the way it should be, because you should be able to get more strict as you're getting to be able to do more kipping, and you're doing it in a way that's like really good form and protecting your shoulder. But it's just not always done like that. So then there's like the haters because they see examples of people who are just throwing themselves around.
There is a lot of CrossFit fuckery on the internet.
That's what I mean.
You know what I mean? So I can't defend all that stuff, you know?
But kipping pull-ups are legit hard. And if you do them properly, it's a gymnastics movement. That's what it is.
Well, and so for muscle ups, I have to kip to do muscle ups.
Yeah, I mean, most people do.
But there's some people that can do strict muscle ups.
I got very close to a strict bar muscle up.
Savages.
I almost did it at like my peak fitness.
So I couldn't do muscle ups for shit. And I remember I was in Iraq and one of the guys there was like a CrossFit coach I was deployed with. And I could do 30 dead hang pull-ups and 0 muscle ups.
What?
And that's what he said. He goes, bro, it's a fucking technique thing. It's not a strength thing. If you're strong enough, you're strong as fuck at pull-ups. You can do muscle up.
I bet you could do a strict bar muscle up.
So he taught me how to do that. Mm-hmm. And then I've been able to do muscle ups ever since.
But I bet you could do a strict one. I bet you just weren't in the right position.
Teach me how to do one.
Yeah. It's nasty because you have to get your wrist on top of the bar. And that's why it's so hard, because then when you pull strict, you're right on top and you just push.
We've talked about my wrist on the podcast before. Look at these things. That's dangerous.
Yeah.
You're just like, yeah, you're right.
I mean, there are guys probably who just kind of pull so fast that they're just already over top, but it's a wrist position.
Those Russians.
Yeah, the Russian bar guys. Where they're just like going straight up.
Nuts.
Yep. Yeah.
Hey, we're not all equal. No. I had a buddy send me a video today of a guy on a GHD machine, and he had 2 kettlebells and doing GHD sit-ups with the kettlebells.
Straight.
And they were huge. They were like 60, 70 pound kettlebells.
Wow.
And it's like, dude, we're not. That's not. That's all I replied back. I said, we're not all equal.
You should snag some of those. We should like a field trip and go downstairs and make everybody do Turkish get-ups with a really light kettlebell.
I'm down with that.
Yeah, you should field trip everybody. I think it'll help people with their technical get-ups. If they can't do a Turkish get-up,
people suck at technical get-ups.
That's what I'm telling you. That's what I was thinking of. That's why I thought of it, because I was like, we need a field trip downstairs.
It's not that hard.
No, but they don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
And so if they could do that, then technical get-up is just faster version.
Yeah. No, you're right. I like that. So.
You could even do it up here without a kettlebell and just teach them.
Yeah, but the thing, the kettlebell forces you, because you're loaded now. And if you get out of alignment, then you can't do them. You can't complete it. You know? Right.
Even the sit-up portion and then the lifting the hips, that's what I see everybody's doing wrong with their technical get-up. They're not lifting their hips up off the ground.
And people also won't pull their leg all the way through.
Right.
I hate that. Mm-hmm. You know what? Tomorrow's warm-up is going to be a bunch of mobility, a bunch of movement. I'm going to smoke the shit out of everybody.
I like the warm-ups because I like when we do all the stuff. I know nobody else loves it, but I like all that stuff.
And I'll blame Rachel again.
Blame Rachel. The only thing I hate is that sideways sit-up fucking thing.
What do you mean sideways sit-up?
Where you're on your back and you're like teeter-tottering back and forth. I hate that. I can't do it.
Side shrimping?
Yeah, I can't do it. I don't know why yet. I can't do it yet. I will be able to do it one day, but I cannot do it yet. I should be able to do it, and that's why it's infuriating.
See, yeah, you hate it because you suck at it.
It's terrible. I try, and I just go nowhere, so I don't know what's wrong.
We'll do some wall walks. I
like wall walks.
We'll do some butt walks, all that stuff.
Yeah, people.
Were you here the day we did the butt walks?
No, which describe what that looks
it's just
like.
Forward walking with your butt.
Oh, no, I like that kind of stuff. I would like to do that.
And it takes forever. It's slow.
You should also have them straight arm lift and come through. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Like sit with your feet forward, put your hands down, lift your butt up off the air, and then like scoot forward with a straight arm.
Okay, we can do that.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. All right, well, we're at 2.5 hours.
Oh my gosh.
That's time to wrap this up.
Heck yeah.
I know you already mentioned it, but I always like people to kind of recap where to find you, where to find your business if they're interested. Because last time you did the show, you got some customers out of it.
Yeah, no.
So let's do it again.
Some wonderful like clients that I love actually came from this podcast. So you can find me on Instagram at Christy May Campbell. That's a good place to find me. I share as much as I can of real life. I try to put it out, just as it is. And I do a short form podcast. It's called FitMe Coffee Talk. It's 5 to 7 minutes. It's every day. And it's just a way to set your intentions on the day, kind of get a different perspective, move forward. And then if you're interested in coaching, go to fitmecommunity.com.
All right. And if you're not interested in having Christy coach you, have her coach your mom.
Yeah.
Because that's actually...
Or your wife.
Yeah. And her stuff is cool. She has a cool community of people. And that's what this is all about, right? Yeah.
Your wife, your sister, your mom, if you thought of somebody who you're like, let me hook Christy up with her, then just tell her to follow me on Instagram and we'll be friends first. And if I'm her,
if it's the right vibe, exactly.
Then I can help.
Cool. All right. Well, thanks so much. And maybe when you get that purple belt, we'll do it again.
I know. That's a good bar.
All right.